What's going on? Good morning, 6:01. Happy Monday from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans make another add to the safety room with another former Seahawk, Quandre Diggs, signing a one-year deal worth up to $5 million. Diggs started every game in the last 4 years, pulling in 15 interceptions over that same time period. Injury update on the first running back drafted in the 2024 draft. Panthers' second-round rookie running back Jonathan Brooks will not play during the preseason and is unlikely to make his NFL debut until around week 3 or 4 of the regular season. Brooks is still recovering from an ACL tear suffered in college at Texas. And five-star quarterback Faison Brandon has committed to Tennessee. The 6'4", 202-pound quarterback from Greensboro, North Carolina, chose the Vols over Alabama, LSU, and NC State and is ranked the number 1 quarterback in 2026. His head coach, Coach Daryl Brown, joins the show at 7 o'clock. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Monday morning. Welcome to a brand new week here on 104.5 The Zone. This is Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW. Ramon Foster and Will Boulding with you. Kayla Anderson has the show off. Robert Walsh is our producer. The Titans decided they liked their one former Seattle safety so much, they said, let's go get another one. Quandre Diggs added last night. We have got a full show of reaction to that. We've got Daryl Brown, the head coach of Grimsley High School in North Carolina, the head coach of new five-star quarterback commitment Faison Brandon for the Tennessee Volunteers. That's at 7. And Jim Wyatt at TennesseeTitans.com joining us at 9:20 this morning. 615-737-1045, Monday, August the 5th. And the Titans play football this week. Good morning.
Man, well, we got real football this weekend. Well, we had it slightly this past weekend, but I think this upcoming week 1, because that was preseason week 0, what we had last week in the Hall of Fame game. We should see some starters. We should see some draft picks, et cetera, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys are going to look like inside of a stadium, because practice can be one thing. But having the idea that you can play a game inside of a stadium and actually do it is another.
Looking forward to it. Titans and 49ers, of course, this weekend, but the big story last night, Quandre Diggs, if you missed it, gets a one-year deal worth $3 million base, more than $1 million in reachable incentives based on playtime, and $1 million more in performance-based incentives. A chance we could even see the newest Tennessee Titan be on the field this weekend.
We could, man. That's going to be super cool, man. We talked about this about a month or so ago when we were speaking about Quandre Diggs, man. So I'm glad to see it somewhat. I mean, it didn't somewhat. It came together fully. It seems like a month of negotiations is what happened here, Will. So finally got a guy. I think that answers more question on what this defense is, and also the signing of Jamal Adams, what that actually is now also. So we've just pieced together pieces of this puzzle, and now we get an opportunity to see what a real bona fide defense is going to look like moving forward, man, with front end and back end help this entire offseason, man. Who was it? Schefter, I think, posted Rands and the front office signings this offseason.
He did.
That's a long list of talent right there.
I'm going to go along on the list for you. The entire group of additions that Rand Carthon and the Titans front office have added this offseason: L'Jarius Sneed, Chidobe Awuzie, Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams, Kenneth Murray, Sebastian Joseph Day, Tavondre Sweat, to go along with defensive coordinator Denard Wilson.
Insane. Not even to talk about the other, the other coaches also, Frank Bush, Tracy Rocker. Like, there's a multitude Steve Jackson. Like, there's so many different moving bodies this year, man. You can't say this. They didn't pour into it, man. They did at least this year to get you to a competitive level. So I'm excited, man, especially the first preseason game. Well, I know it doesn't mean anything, but it is actually real, tangible football that we can evaluate and just talk about guys that did good. See if Malik can take it to the stadium.
There are a lot of guys, Ramon, who I feel like have had better camps than what we expected. A couple of them we'll talk about this morning based on what happened over the weekend on the practice field, but Brian Callahan continues to credit the slot receivers for having a legitimate competition when you talk about Kyle Phillips, Jaquan Jackson, and yes, Mason Kinsey, who continued to make plays and got a shout out from the head coach over the weekend. You obviously have the quarterback situation behind Will Levis, but even just watching Will Levis in preseason is fascinating. You could make the argument this is one of the more interesting preseason storylines and preseason narratives that we have ever had here, considering that when the starters are going to play and when you have so many interesting battles of unproven players behind your starters, there's a lot to follow this weekend when they hit the preseason field for the first time.
Oh, it is, man. And not just that, you bring up all those players right there. I was told somebody was close to us, like they had to shout out the quarterback coach, man. You know who the quarterback coach of the Titans is, Will? You know who he is.
Of course I do.
Bo Hardigree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Bo is just, I think, maybe a year older than me, but to see him being able to be in a position now with the Tennessee Titans to really coach up quarterbacks, having a guy that's probably young enough, honestly, to be able to communicate with guys and get them to understand close enough to the game to where you're not teaching, old tricks to a young dog. Like, no. This is the way they got to be guided moving forward, man. And I think we're seeing some of the results of that in these practices that we've seen so far, man. So, yeah, it's not like when the starters go out, like you said, that the game's going to get boring. No, there's a lot to watch here. By the way, I went to the practice on Saturday, man.
Did you? I was about to ask how you spent your last weekend of freedom before NFL football just took over your life.
I kept saying last weekend of freedom too, like I was about to get locked up, man. But I am essentially, man. Like, this is from here on out. There is no off weekend, man. I don't think I have an off day for the next, 6 months of the season. So, we're in it, Will, and I can't wait, man. But, yeah, I went to the stadium, man. To the football facility this weekend to watch them practice. I had an embarrassing moment, man. It was one of those moments where I feel you guys are going to joke me on.
Okay.
All right. So, I pull up to the Titans, Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. I pulled up there for practice. Hey, had my sticker up front and everything. So Saturday, I was just like early morning, man. Roads, air is chill and crisp. Cool. I pull into the facility through the security gate, and I was driving my BMW, okay? And it's an okay car, okay? But here's the thing about it. I showed up late, and it was just one of the moments like, please don't be anybody here. So I had to pull around that roundabout where the Sprinter vans and stuff like that drop off fans. They had fans on Saturday, too. So I'm pulling in, man, and the security guy up front recognizes me, hey, love the show, man. Listen to you guys every morning. I was like, man, I appreciate it. Super nice. We're very cordial and everything, right? Vols fan. Mm-hmm. Asked me about the boys on Rocky Top. And he was just like, hey, just pull around the roundabout, and I'm going to back you up right here. I don't want this car next to anything. I'm like, wait, don't do this, okay? So I pull around, and then there's Titan staff just watching me back this car up and just park it separated from everybody else like it was something special. And I was just like, you know what? I got out of the car. I was like, look, y'all, I didn't ask for this.
Do what you want when you pop it.
No, I was just like, I could have parked amongst everybody else, but he was like, he didn't want the car to get hit by a Sprinter van and everything. And I appreciated the extra attention to detail, Will. But when I hopped out of the car and there was Titans personnel that was just waiting out front looking at me, I was just like, look, they laughed at me, man. I really wasn't expecting this type of attention this morning. And you know me well. I like to fly amongst the people, but that was one of them situations where I hopped out of the car and was very embarrassed.
Was this Titans media staff? Was this Titans football staff? Was this the front office?
Football equipment and training staff, their logistics, man. A few of their guys was out there to handle travel for them. So I see them on the road and stuff whenever I'm with the Titans. So it was cool. Amy Wells' husband was out there also. It was just, it was an embarrassing moment for you guys.
That's why we call you HMM.
Nah.
High maintenance bone.
No. I wasn't
Weekdays from
expecting
6 to 10 on 104.5 The Zone.
I wasn't expecting that, man. But other than that, man, I got a couple meetings I got to get back to before the season kickoff. Got a couple charities I got lined up. But no baseball this weekend except for throwing with my boys and going to the Titans practice. This, by the way, I'll give you my update on it. It's more competitive now. You're seeing more back and forth between the offense and the defense.
Yep.
And that right there is what we spoke about earlier. This training camp is the defense usually steps out front, and then the offense catches up.
Sure.
This weekend, I saw in practice, even with the one-on-ones and everything else, it was more competitive back and forth between both sides. And also NPF got to take on him at some
He's
point.
back. Okay.
I do.
615-737-1045. When we come back, though, the big story of last night, the Titans adding Quandre Diggs reportedly into their secondary. The positives, the negatives, and when Rand Carthon essentially told us without telling us that this move was coming. That's next.
Pain from arthritis is just awful. Bone on bone, constant pain. It robs you of so much, the stuff you love to do. But there are effective ways to deal with that pain, and I'm not talking about drugs or surgery. Hey, it's Kayla Anderson. Listen, there are exciting new cellular therapies that can get you lasting relief, and the place to go is QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. If you're living with chronic pain from arthritis or injury, you need to know steroids and surgery and pain pills are no longer your only option. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-lasting relief with no downtime. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative, restorative cellular treatments for achy joints. This is the future of medicine. Call them for a free consultation now at 615-249-4024, 615-249-4024 in Nashville, Clarksville, and Murfreesboro.
Monday morning, kicking off the show on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and kicking off your week here on RKW. 615-737-1045. We are about to tell you what we like the most about the Quandre Diggs signing, and you can do the same on the phone lines or in the F&M Big Chat by tuning into the show live on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch.
Twitch, please.
1 year, $3 million base incentives that could take him up to $5 million. Ramon Foster, what do you like the most about the Quandre Diggs signing for the Tennessee Titans?
Two things, man. Getting a veteran at this point in his career, the price. The price is awesome, man. The price is right. That's what you say in that situation right there. Considering what the market is, Justin Simmons is still out there. And I think you can see why now. The money somewhat drops down. The base $3 million, I think, is really good of a deal. Everything else is left up to him if he get the rest of that $5 million at $2 million deals. $2 million is left on the table for a guy like him, man. I love that side of it because it's good business. And also, you don't carry anything going into the next year. You get an opportunity to reset yourself after this one, right? And the other part is the questions of back-end coverage. You got a guy that can play the role of an eraser, man. And again, it somewhat backs up the idea of what kind of defense that Denard Wilson wants to be able to play. Rush with 4, maybe 5. And the thing about Jamal Adams in this situation is this to me, too. Jamal may be more of a run blitzing guy than he is a pass rush blitzing guy, too. So you have now the ability to really be multiple in how you attack offenses moving forward. But the back end is where we had those questions of having an eraser type of guy. And you have now the ability from what he's done in other places with Quandre Diggs to have that balance on the front end and the back end of the defense.
I like the availability quite a bit for Quandre Diggs, who certainly has a bit of a complex drop in production last season. He had a career-high tackles with 95. It was the first time in a while that he did not have at least 4 interceptions in a season. From 2019 through 2022, he accumulated 14 picks. Never had less than 4 interceptions between 2019 and 2022. So for the first time since 2018, he did not have 4 picks. He only had 1 pick last season. But I love the availability in the fact that he's not missed a game since 2019. And he has played at least 1,000 snaps in each of the last 4 years. Ramon, I feel like that's something we talk a lot about with this team. When you have so many guys that are on contracts in their early 30s, or are on big deals, but there's a little bit of an injury red flag. Mm-hmm. That is certainly not the case for Quandre Diggs.
It's not, man. He has been there. And also, like you just said, well, the availability of himself, too. Like, with 17-game schedule, he has been there year in and year out. And the production has, too. Like you said, he's made 3 straight Pro Bowls. So the idea that you don't throw to his side or, hey, be cautious of where he is on that side of the field is probably why he's down to just 1 interception. But all in all, Will, I'll tell you this, the idea that the fear of throwing deep on the Titans and the ball's just hitting the ground is not going to live long with certain teams. Considering who you have to play this year, I mean, it's game 1. I feel a whole lot better now about game 1, even with Arden Key potentially being out in that game because of the back end of this defense. Rush and coverage works together, right? This is where now I think a little bit of the pressure goes back to the boys up front to get home in those one-on-one wins if you have a guy like Denard Wilson that says, look, we want to win with 4. Now that's so much more important. Now the Tavondre Sweat conversation of pushing the pocket so that guys can get home is so much more important now because I know this, if we can get pressure on the quarterback to where he's off his spot and scrambling. We got guys now on the back end with the signing of Quandre Diggs that can deliver the goods when necessary.
Yeah, 3 Pro Bowls for Diggs between 2019 and 2022. Friend of the show, Randy Bueller, wrote in The Athletic earlier this summer about Diggs when he was writing about the top remaining free agents, about midway through free agency. I believe this was at the beginning of July. He said, Diggs had a career-high 95 tackles last season. His first step quickness is still a plus. And his instincts for reading and breaking on things from the post make him a good fit in zone coverage for most teams. He's still only 31, has solid leadership qualities. He was voted captain back-to-back seasons in Seattle. Randy Mueller at the time was actually projecting him to go back to Detroit, where he began his career, saying, I think a return to the Motor City where he spent his first 5 years in the league would make some sense. The Lions have remade their secondary, especially at corner. A veteran communicator, I think that's interesting. A veteran communicator could be just what the doctor ordered to bring the back end together. Diggs made good money in Seattle, so perhaps he would be willing to take a discount to join a contender. That was the conversation about Diggs like a month ago, was that Quandre Diggs is the perfect missing piece for a contender who still needs safety help. Now he's in Tennessee.
I know. So what I don't want to happen was people to downplay this signing if it wasn't going to be a big
because
one.
If this was the Philadelphia Eagles adding one more safety, if this was even the Indianapolis Colts who wanted like every single member of the Titans secondary at some point this offseason, we'd be talking about, this is missing piece for Philly.
Facts.
This guy, the way Kevin Byard was last year. Quandre Diggs has more to offer at this point of his career than Kevin Byard. And it was, that's the leadership. And then they come to Tennessee and it's, retirement team.
I know.
Man, this team would have been sick in 2018. Like we can't have it both ways.
No, you cannot have it both ways. Again, like you said, if he'd gone to Jacksonville or anywhere else, he was a missing piece type of guy, man. The same way, and I'll even say this in Byard's defense somewhat, that's the same way Chicago's talking about him. Right, and here's the separator too: is Byard's in the spot to where he was traded in the middle of the season, where his production somewhat dropped off as far as what Philly wanted out of him, and now with his experience and especially with what Byard was paid in this offseason, they feel he's a missing link type of guy. Well, here's the thing: if that's the case about what the national media feel about Kevin Byard, then the same conversation be had about a very comparable guy in Quandre Diggs. Again, getting these pieces together, you got to think about how long from where we were initially told, Will, about the conversation on a guy like Quandre Diggs. This has been about a month of negotiations, if not longer, right? And that's the part of it to me, to where he was either wrestling back and forth with the money, or he's wrestling with the type of team that he wanted to go to. And in the end, your front office has jumped out in front of everybody else and got a guy that other teams wanted. And also this, too, with the numbers. The idea that the money wasn't outrageous. $3 million for a guy at 31 years old that's on a 1-year deal, I'll take that one 10 times out of 10. And again, I know health is going to be an issue when you look at these guys' ages. Like that's a very that's a very important part of everything that's going on right now. Can they stay healthy throughout the course of the year? And I'll tell you this: more times than not, football injuries will happen. But these dudes have had a career of consistently being there. Guys who have a history of being injured, listeners, usually get back injured quick. This guy hasn't had that on his reputation at all during his career.
So a couple weeks ago when we sat down with Titans GM Rand Carthon, he dropped a pretty big hint on our show, live on the air, that something like this might happen when we asked him where Jamal Adams helps this team the most. Without us asking whether or not they were interested in another safety, he essentially said, and I know many of you have thought about another safety. This was Rand Carthon on our show a couple weeks ago.
He's a versatile guy, and I know there are some thoughts that he can't do this and he can't do that. But the last time I checked, this guy was a DB that had 9 sacks. That's not easy. And I don't care how many times you blitz him, you still got to get home and you still got to beat people that are 50 to 60 pounds bigger than you. And he's proven that he's done it and that he can do it. So it gives us versatility. And even in signing Jamal, and I don't think this guy on our team gets enough love, is Amani Hooker.
Yeah.
And his versatility and him being able to move around and move to different spots, because you got to construct it a certain way if you got a guy that's just in one box, you know what I mean? And so having Hook gives us the freedom to sign a Jamal. And I was asked a question yesterday if we're going to sign somebody else, and the answer to that question is if we need to, because you can never have enough good football players, and all that is predicated on Hook's ability to be able to move around and kind of be, as we would term it in football, a rock and roll safety.
They'll sign a guy if they need to. Mm-hmm. Well, clearly Rand Carthon decided he needed to.
Yeah, and it may be the circumstances of Arden Key losing to Russia, right? A guy that you think is going to be a bona fide playmaker for you, like the pressure to actually get this deal done. Maybe that's where the other $2 million in incentives came from. It's like, hey, Look, all right, you on a need basis to get into training camp, and we are to get a player that can be impactful for us. Like, that was the thing about what he said is having guys that can make plays for you defensively. Like, that's where this team has been lacking. I feel like last year, anyway, getting turnovers, right? I think it was, 6 turnovers or 6 interceptions on the year?
Last season, the Titans were 31st in the NFL with only 14 takeaways.
Yeah.
Only the Carolina Panthers were worst.
It's not a good place to play football. It just isn't.
I'll give you another reason why they may have made this move now. Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan saw this defense without Chidobe Awuzie in training camp. See, I think this makes them so much more versatile defensively because I know Roger McCreary in a perfect world is a nickel corner. However, I would still rather put Roger McCreary on the outside than, with respect, Trey Avery or Gabe Judy Lowry in a live game setting in the regular season. I would rather put McCreary outside and have Jarvis Brownlee, Elijah Molden, or Jamal Adams, or Amani Hooker. Some combination of those four as a nickel, whether you're in a nickel or a dime set for this defense. And now you have the luxury of putting Elijah Molden and Jamal Adams together out there. You've got the luxury of putting Diggs and Hooker. Like, you have so many options in the way that you can set up this defense. And Ramon, I think they are going to try to be a big play defense, meaning they will be in the top half of takeaways at least this season. I think I'm ready to comfortably say that at this point.
The top half, well, the pieces that they've added for sure, and the pieces that they've already had too, should at least allow, I'd say, fumbles from a guy like Kenneth Murray, right? I'd expect getting the ball and being able to tap the ball and not let it hit the ground at the line of scrimmage, what we've seen Jeff do time and time again and others. And then again, we keep saying his name, but it's a big if on a lot of things, man, if you've seen him at practice. And we all have seen big man at practice, man, T'Vondre Sweat. If he hits, y'all, as far as being able to push the pocket, as far as being able to give some assistance, like I had somebody over this weekend text me about T'Vondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons tandem. With the idea that, look, if this can actually happen, this is going to be problematic for a lot of teams moving forward because, again, that amount of pressure with the guy who we've seen out there in practice has gone 4, 5, 6 play sets with the defense and not come out, which means his conditioning is there. It's better. Now, the game is a whole lot different. Playing in the game is a whole lot different than practice. I'll admit that. But this guy has shown at least he's worked this offseason. And now you go side to side, Will, and you mentioned these corners. And now you mentioned the safety that you know of. And not just that, but Amani Hooker playing his role. If he hasn't been the best player or top 5 best players on this team in the last couple of years, nobody really talks about it, though. He has been consistently there and a guy that's done everything you've asked him to do. And now he gets a little bit of more help with a guy like Kevin Byard being out of here and you signing Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams. This is huge.
Amani Hooker, who also his first, 3 seasons with the Tennessee Titans was a big nickel corner on third downs. They would bring in Amani Hooker on this defense to play in a big nickel package, which you feel like they are now moving back towards doing more prominently again. But Amani Hooker started his career as a nickel corner in this league before he was really even a safety. And he was a backup safety at that point to be able to give the Titans different pieces they could move around on defense. What's to say he's not just another nickel corner on this defense now? Because, again, if Roger McCreary is in for the often injured Chidobe Awuzie, who we certainly hope is able to stay healthy this season, you have legitimate depth with proven commodities behind the starters on your defense. I can't say the same about every position on the offense in that regard quite yet, but Ramon, tell me why this defense shouldn't be legitimately good this year.
It should be, Will.
On paper, this is a good defense.
It should. And not just that, man. It's a mix now, and they got to go prove it with these young guys. But Jarvis Brownlee, how many times have we heard his name mentioned as of late as it pertains to young guys making 29, I'm telling y'all right now, number 29 in your pamphlet is going to be a guy that I expect to get significant playing time this year just because of his grit that I've seen him with in practice. Like, he got beat this past weekend by Tyler Boyd. You know what he did? Most times he hit his push-ups, and then he went and got the next rep.
And I think a lot of credit belongs to Tyler Boyd in that as well.
Oh my gosh,
looks really good.
He does look good, man. But this young guy depth that they're somewhat stacking up on defense. And the cool thing is you got this mixture of old and young, right? Where these young guys like a Jarvis Brownlee can still grow. Well, honestly, Roger McCreary can still grow and learn. And if he does, well, to your point, have to bump out, I don't feel nervous about, okay, what are they going to do with the dime anymore, right? Or the nickel, because that's where I think Jarvis Brownlee is going to end up playing that role if Roger McCreary does have to go out. If Cheeto doesn't practice or play early in the season, like, I feel better about the replacements than I think we have in years past where we're watching guys get signed and they're playing the next, like that week that they just get signed. Like, I'm not okay with those types of things. And that's what we spoke about over the last years. Like, the cupboard was a little empty. Like, you had to go shopping the way you did this offseason.
You had undrafted guys in your twos.
Yeah.
On the depth chart.
Yeah.
In Eric Garrer and Trey Avery. And no disrespect to them, but those guys are now in jeopardy of not making the team at all or simply just being special teamers. You have elevated the bottom end of the roster in your defensive secondary. We will give you the negative as well because, again, there's a reason why Quandre Diggs is available to be signed on August 4th. That you're not getting a world-beating, game-changing safety. You are adding very important depth, and you've made a positive addition. However, we're going to always give you the positives and the negatives on both sides of this. PFF was not a big fan of Quandre Diggs last season for one main reason. He missed a lot of tackles. And that is the area where Pro Football Focus was critical of the new Titan safety, missing 17.5% of his tackles last season. Quandre Diggs, despite having a career-high 95 stops last year, 95 tackles, he had his second worst tackling grade of his career.
That's not good right there.
That's why he's a $3 million player up to $5 million, right? Like, This defense is going to be good, not just because of signing Quandre Diggs, but because you have legitimate depth now on all three levels of this defense, other than maybe the defensive line on the inside a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Whether that's him trying to make a big play or him going for the ball, that's unacceptable, Will. That's where you got to, everybody got something dirty about their job, whether he's not a willing participant and like being overly physical, like that is something I expect. Here's the thing. This is where Jamal Adams comes into play. This is where Kenneth Murray comes into play, to where guys are employed to set the tone that everybody must tackle at the football. We had that situation with a guy like Joe Hayden. Like, that was one of his things. Joe was an interception guy. He was a, bat the ball down type of guy. He wasn't a tackling dude. And you know what the team did, Will? They made it cool for Joe Hayden to tackle. Because, again, everybody got something dirty about the job, and this is where I expect the culture of this team. Denard Wilson setting the precedent that, look, we are here to hit, strike, and just cause all kind of pain. Yeah. Somewhat plays a part in this, and that is, again, that's man to a man and teammate to a teammate with that type of stuff.
I don't think it was that he was an unwilling participant, considering he also had a career high in tackles last year.
Yeah.
I don't think that says too many positive things about the Seattle defense.
Yeah.
The fact that you can have a career high in tackles and still have your worst tackling grade of your career. Again, Pro Football Focus, not gospel.
Right.
However, an important secondary analysis tool. So we'll continue to react to the Quandre Diggs news this morning. And coming up next, we'll tell you what happened over the weekend at Titans training camp, where a big man is making a very big impact. What Brian Callahan had to say about T'Vondre Sweat is next.
If you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation to drive, gaining weight, or noticing a loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone. Don't wait. Find out. At Low-T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple test with their on-site lab. You'll get results back in about 25 minutes. Low-T Center is also not a typical doctor's office. Their physicians specialize in treating low testosterone with customized therapy, or TRT, for each patient. The experts at Low-T Center have over a decade of experience helping patients achieve life-changing results, and most health insurance is accepted for treatment. For established patients with stable T levels, they also offer a convenient physician-monitored self-inject treatment that ships directly to your home each month without the need to come in for the weekly visits. Also, at Low-T Center, you can get your health evaluated for treatments with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medication. So, get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low-T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Finishing up a very quick first hour of your Monday morning. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW. Coming up in 15 minutes, Vols fans, we got your new quarterback commitments coach on the show.
Let's go.
Grimsley High School head coach Daryl Brown out of Greensboro, North Carolina, the head coach of Faison Brandon. #1 player in the country in the class of 2026, according to 247. Commits to Tennessee over the weekend. His head coach will join us coming up in 15 minutes. 615-737-1045, the number in the meantime. And Ramon Foster, Devondre Sweat is just stacking days, isn't he?
He is. I'm talking about good quality days, man. Yes, the heck he is.
What'd you see from him over the weekend?
He again, his ability to be on the field for multiple plays at a time, I thought was really good. I saw this guy, and I was talking to Chris Spencer, man, former Titan, 10-year vet, also a former offensive lineman. I said, you know what sucks about a guy like Devondre Sweat to go against him? One is the size. The size make you think he's just going to run straight down my face, right? That's all he's got is, hey, I'm just a hole stopper right here. Well, this weekend I saw him get Lord Cushenberry with a quick arm over. I saw him push the pocket and do a swim move on Peter Skoronski. This guy's a big athlete, Will, and he's showing it day in and day out. The consistency of his reps from Big Tex, as Mike Keefe called him now, okay? I thought is really unique, and I don't want to gaslight you guys to just throw you all kind of hope and just fill you up with helium. But the big man can play. Mm-hmm. He's going to consume two bodies, play in and play out, the way I saw it this weekend. You saw some wiggle with him. You saw him push the pocket straight up the middle. And I saw endurance, Will. If Coach bragged on him this weekend, he earned it.
J.C. Latham even making the point, talking to the media over the weekend, that he's not just a big body who's just pushing. There is some nuance to what he's doing. And when Brian Callahan spoke about the second-round pick, he also used the word wiggle to talk about the 350-pound plus defensive tackle. This was Coach Callahan over the weekend.
He's just so big and so powerful, and he's got real pass rush wiggle for a guy his size. I mean, he can get on the edge and work it. He's got fast hands, and I feel it standing back there. I feel the push. You know, those are two, him and Jeff inside. You feel that, and you watch him in one-on-ones, and he can win one-on-one, which a lot of times those big guys struggle to win one-on-one, but he's got enough quickness to do it. So I feel him in the middle of the defense, and I think that's a really good thing for us as a team. It's not great for me in practice.
That is impressive. You said literally the exact same thing about him. I don't think you'd heard that audio.
I had not heard that. That's super fascinating, Will, because here's the other thing, too, that he said that you can, if you're watching them practice, like he said, you can feel it. Like I said, I'm over there with Chris Spencer, and he played center, right? Center and left guard. And he's just like, that's unfair. And I'm like, yeah, it is. Because, again, you feel him pushing you like Peter Skoronski might have back issues when he's like 65 years old. The way Devondre Sweat is just pushing, you know. And here's the thing about it. That's what you want. It's iron on iron. It's not going to be many guys as big as Devondre Sweat that can do what he do in this league, even as a young guy. One thing that I learned from our staff was this. You better be a 3-down type of guy if you're going to be that big. And the reason is, again, everybody can somewhat stop the run, but if you get caught out in a set where where offense get the first down and they don't change personnel, he can't run off the field fast enough to change personnel. So the idea that he is a first, second, third down type of guy and can sustain that also and also be effective, I think is an X factor for this team if he shows consistently throughout the course of the season. I want to see game one. Is Nate Davis still in Chicago? Yes, he is. I want to see what that's going to look like. Mm-hmm. I do.
What I read into here from Jim Wyatt at TennesseeTitans.com, who joins us at 9:20 this morning, he says the big defensive lineman was giving the O-lineman hell during the one-on-one pass rush period. And when the Titans moved to the team period, Sweat was in the face of Levis in a hurry, forcing him to throw the ball away. Sweat seems to be getting better every day, Jim Wyatt writes. To me, Ramon, what I read in that is he's in good shape. Because going from a one-on-one period where you are dominating to immediately jogging down the other field and getting straight into a team period where you're also winning, you've got to be pretty well conditioned to carry that dominance from one practice period to the next. And that's not always something we see from 360-pound men.
It's not. And here's the thing about that particular play on the screen. He, offensive lineman supposed to sell pass rush and go. He quickly beat, I don't want to say quickly because he gave a little bit, but Lloyd Cushenberry was blocking him, and Tavondre Sweat split him and Peter Skoronski for that pressure he had on Will Levis. I'll even add this to it also. Him being a football player, like you find big guys, man, that feel like they're small skill guys. Like he's a D tackle that probably thinks he's a linebacker. You know what I'm saying? And he's operating like that because it wasn't a dumb rush after he recognized it was a screen. He simply got his big paws up, ran like a bear on two legs, as Coach Mack liked to say, and simply put pressure on Levis. And again, Levis was trying to back up, create space, and Tavondre was closing that area between him and the running back. It was a fascinating rush for him, but I'm more impressed with the idea of play recognition and the ability to not have a dumb rush and just jump off his feet and let Levis, move to the side and complete the pass. It was a good play, a very good play from such a young guy on understanding. And to your point, Will, just finishing the drill, running to the other end of it, and causing chaos for the offense. Coach Callahan is not wrong. He said that from the get-go. He said, what? I want a defensive coordinator to work for me that caused me all kind of problems. And he's getting it.
We got a question on Twitter from Sully. Any investigative journalism or idea on the Arden Key suspension and why it hasn't been made official? From our understanding, it's because he's appealing the decision.
Yeah, I think he's going to do it.
So he's going to go through that process. That is what we understand, and that is kind of the talk around it. So Arden Key is going to go through the process and see if that thing can either get taken away or at the very least reduced.
Right.
From a 6-game suspension. And you'll notice again when the Danico Autry, news came out publicly, they immediately said in that release, we will not appeal. I do not understand that to be the case for Arden Key.
Me either. You just, and
might as well fight it.
The Nico situation, I expected him to appeal it, but we'll see what turns of it moving forward.
Coming up next, we're going to be joined by Grimsley High School head coach Daryl Brown, the head coach of the newest Tennessee 5-star quarterback commitment, Faison Brandon. Get to know the future signal caller of the Vols a bit better coming up next. Hey, it's Will Bowling. Do you have hearing loss? Maybe you're wearing hearing aids, but you don't want to be around water. It's the summertime, of course. We're at the lake, the pool. Maybe you're headed down to the beach if you're lucky. You're fearful of water damage to your hearing devices. Maybe it's not you. Maybe it's a family member. You go to the beach, they take those things out. Now they can't hear you from just a couple of chairs over. Well, I want to tell you about Brentwood Hearing Center, who's got the solution for you. Hearing devices that are waterproof. That's right. Hearing aid wearers can now enjoy being around water while hearing with their hearing aids and enjoying all those sounds of friends and family. They've got the Phonak Lumity Life. It's the world's only hearing aid that is completely waterproof, and it's the kind of advanced technology that you're going to get when you go see the good people at Brentwood Hearing Center. Remember this phone number, 615-377-0420. Learn more there about the Lumity Life or visit them online at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com for more information. That's 615-377-0420. Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing, better life.
What's going on? 7:01. Good morning. Happy Monday from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans make another add to the safety room with another former Seahawk, Quandre Diggs, signing a one-year deal worth up to $5 million. Diggs has started every game in the last 4 years, pulling in 15 interceptions over that same time period. And five-star quarterback Faison Brandon has committed to Tennessee. The 6'4", 202-pound quarterback from Greensboro, North Carolina, chooses the Vols over Alabama, LSU, and NC State, and is ranked the number 1 quarterback in 2026. His head coach from Grimsley, Coach Daryl Brown, joins the show right now. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Seven a.m. in Nashville as hour number 2 begins on this fine Monday morning. Welcome in to Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW here on 104.5 The Zone. With Ramon Foster, I'm Will Bowling. Kayla Anderson has the morning off. Robert Walsh is our producer. And over the weekend, some big news for Tennessee Volunteers football, adding, according to 247 Sports, the number 1 player in the class of 2026, Grimsley High School quarterback Faison Brandon, committing to the Vols over the weekend. We are pleased to be joined right now by his head coach of Grimsley High School in the state of North Carolina, Coach Daryl Brown, joining us here this morning. Coach Brown, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. We appreciate the time. Let's start just from the scouting report, Coach. What makes your quarterback, the 5-star new Tennessee commit, such a talented player?
Well, there's a lot of different things. The obvious thing that sticks out is his skill set. Faison's 6'4", 205, and throws the football as well as any kid that I've ever had in my 20-some years as a head football coach. But on top of that, a lot of things that people don't see is just his work ethic, the kind of young man he is. He's super humble. He really doesn't like attention coming his way, and he always deflects it to his teammates. But he's a guy that's hungry to continue to get better, and he strives to do that every day.
Coach Daryl Brown, head coach of Grimsley High School, the head coach for Faison Brandon, our guest. Coach, where have you seen Faison improve the most over his time so far as a high school quarterback?
Well, really, probably this offseason, just in understanding of what defenses are trying to do. I mean, he started to grasp that a lot as the year went on last year. But now he has a really good understanding of kind of what he's seeing from different defenses in the secondary through some of the stuff that we've done this summer and some of our 7-on-7s and things that we've done against our defense. And just his anticipation, being able to get the ball out of his hand a little bit earlier and just anticipating throws. That's been the biggest thing, that and his leadership. He's really grown in that role as well, which is very important with the position that he plays. And he's a quiet young man by nature. But he's become more vocal, and he's definitely a leader for our program and for our team. And he leads by example, but he's become more vocal as well.
Coach Daryl Brown of Grimsley High School is with us this morning. Faison Brandon's head coach. Coach, coming into this season, man, for folks that don't understand what kind of player Faison Brandon is, can you break it down to us? What kind of player is he? Does he throw the ball? Does he stay in the pocket? Does he run often? Break down his play to us if you could.
No, he's a dual threat guy. He can do a lot of different things. He's, like I said, he's extremely tall and physical. He's become a really good runner, and we do have some quarterback design runs. We don't run him a lot, but last year he did rush for about 600 yards and I think right around 7 or 8 touchdowns. And so he has the ability to run through tackles, to escape, and make plays with his feet. So that's huge that he has that dynamic ability. But he's probably at his best when he's in the pocket and he's able to kind of survey the field and make throws. He can make all the throws. He can make them from hash to sideline. He can make them vertically down the field. He has great touch on the ball as well, and then has the ability to fit it in tight spots. So just a tremendous skill set.
Coach Daryl Brown with us. You said you've been coaching for over 20 years, Coach. Having a talent like Faison Brandon, what was it like when you saw big schools coming in and, offering him at such a young age, and how's he handled that moving forward?
Well, I think probably one of the things that's probably helped him handle things is he's seen some of our other guys that's come through our program kind of in the same situation as him. But Faison is extremely young for his class, and he just turned 16 a month ago, back early in June. To be such a young kid who really doesn't, foster the attention, he's fine if he doesn't have any. I think he's handled things extremely well, and he's always made sure that he's the best he can be for his teammates and for his team here, and that's where his focus always is. In fact, he turned down a recruiting trip this summer so that he didn't miss any workouts, with his guys here at Grimsley. So he's always focused on being the best he can be for his team and his school here, and I think that helps him a lot, that he don't get caught up in all the other stuff.
Coach, we've heard as of late with the Tennessee Vols, they somewhat identify talent early and just find ways to get those kids to see, hey, look at us here also. How would you say the University of Tennessee's recruitment has been with a guy like Faison Brandon as they're getting him early in this recruiting cycle for himself?
No, they've done a great job. They've been here quite a bit whenever they were allowed to be here and around, and Faison's been up to, UT several times, been to games, and has really just become comfortable with their staff and Coach Heupel and all those guys. And says he loves it there. He says it feels like home every time he's up there. He's just become more comfortable the more he's around. And then also he has a pretty good relationship with Hendon Hooker, who is a Greensboro guy as well. And Hendon's dad and Faison have trained and done some things through the years, so that's also a good connection for him. And obviously, doesn't hurt as far as the recruiting process when you got a guy like Hendon Hooker talking to you about UT as well.
Grimsley High School head coach Daryl Brown is our guest. His quarterback Faison Brandon committing to Tennessee over the weekend. And Coach Brown, calling high school football here in Tennessee, I talked to a lot of high school coaches about Josh Heupel and this staff just being accessible, being kind of a phone call away to be a resource about their offense, about their process, and all of those things. What has that been like, just dealing with Josh Heupel and communicating with him? Do you feel like he has been pretty open and upfront with you just about his expectations and what he likes about Faison through this process?
Oh, yeah, it's been very easy. Him and then Coach Hagel have been here, and, those guys, like Saturday when Faison made it official, his commitment, reached out to Coach Heupel, and he hit me right back up. So they're very accessible and have been great to work with.
So, Coach Brown, where do you see Faison taking the next step as you look forward into you guys this season with some very good competition there in North Carolina? Where do you want him to take that next step and improve this season?
Well, kind of what we talked about earlier, some of the ways that we've seen him grow, just continuing to improve on that stuff. Continuing to be a leader, continuing to anticipate throws, make them on time, and not rely so much on his arm strength, and just understand where his receivers are going to be and getting them the ball in the right spots at the right time, and really just kind of like taking ownership of everything that we got going on. I told him that obviously as a quarterback, he's the leader of our offense, but we need him to be the leader of our team, and in the locker room, and when he's on the sideline, when our defense is on the field, and really just continuing to mature and grow in those areas. And I know he will, because he wants to and he works at it. And it's not something we just tell him that we want him to do. Like, we try to give him tools and ways to help him do that as well. So he grasps all that stuff. And like I said, he's a guy that's hungry. He's here this morning, 6:30 in the morning our time, which would be 5:30 for you guys. He's here early in the weight room, getting work in with his offensive skill guys before we head out to the practice field here in a few minutes.
Now, Coach, I played at Tennessee myself also, and I have a lot of good friends from the Carolinas in general. I've always told that if you want to take over the SEC, you got to somewhat capture the Carolinas. Can you speak on some of the talent that you guys have coming out of there and just the amount of schools that you have coming in to receive some of that talent? As you guys, I think, have the number one tackle in the country in David Sanders Jr. in your state. But I've always told, if you want to compete, you must hit the Carolinas. Speak on you guys' talent as a team and just the states in general.
Yeah, well, for us here at Grimsley, we've been very fortunate in the last 6 or 7 years or so that we've had a lot of really good teams, but we've had a lot of really good football players that are great kids as well. And Faison falls in line with a lot of those guys that have gone on to play at different places for us. We just had a young man, Bryce Davis, defensive end, who's one of the top players in the country at his position that just committed to Clemson. We've been very blessed here at Grimsley to have a lot of really good players, but I think the state of North Carolina somewhat gets overlooked a little bit. I think we're loaded with talent in this state. Like you mentioned the young man at Providence Day, the tackle, but if you kind of go through the Carolinas and kind of look back, there's several guys playing in the NFL now. There's guys at multiple Power 4 level playing at different schools. But, we in this area that we're in the Triad, in the middle of the state, it's just loaded with athletes and really good talent. So, I think we're, like I said, right in the middle of all that. I think it creates, competition, and our guys here at Grimsley, kind of see what's going on in other places and want to just continue to get better.
Coach Joe Brown, the head coach of the Grimsley Whirlies. Coach, I got to be honest. You got a lot of Tigers, Eagles, Lions across the country. You get a lot of weird questions about Whirlies. I'm looking at your mascot right now, and I love this.
Yeah, well, the school is the third oldest high school in the state of North Carolina. And
nice.
The mascot has changed a little bit through the years from my understanding. At one time it was the Whirlwinds, and then it became the Whirly Birds, and then I think around 1950 they just made it the Whirlies. And so it kind of like resembles a tornado, I guess. Yeah. But it's the only mascot that we in the country with that name. We're the only school with that mascot, so it's kind of neat. We get a lot of different looks and a lot of student sections at different places that are kind of ribbing us a little bit with our mascot, but our guys have kind of relished it, and our school and community has as well.
I love it. Great stuff. Coach Daryl Brown with us, Faison Brandon's head coach. Coach Brown, really appreciate the time this morning. Thanks so much.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir. Good scouting report there on the newest Tennessee 5-star quarterback commitment.
Big, having a 5-star in your building, man. Goodness. Profile has changed now for the Whirlies.
Just amazing timing as well on Bert's new intro. We got to talk about it. Bert's new intro of me talking about the New York Mets hot dog promo over the summer about Seymour Wiener, the name of the World War II veteran who was honored before a Mets game on Hot Dog Day. Really great time for somebody who molds young men and coaches, young high schoolers to be joining us. I'm glad he didn't seem to be fazed by it.
That conversation was a month plus back, man. You
more than that. That was like May.
That's what I'm saying.
How Robert Walsh menaced to society.
As soon as I heard the Ramones,
you heard the first one?
I knew which one it was, and I was like, oh no. There's no way this is about to play with this coach.
I don't mind the joke, but we might need to change that one just to avoid the exact scenario we just had happen.
I checked with corporate. Everybody's cool with it.
Yes. Praise you, Bert, for being thorough in your investigation.
You checked with corporate of Bowling Enterprises?
I did.
Clearly not.
I did not.
I'm going to lose out on a play-by-play job in 20 years because I'm talking about Seymour Wiener in 2024. 615-737-1045. The big story of the morning. The Titans have reportedly added former Seattle safety Quandre Diggs. What does it mean for their other former Seattle safety, Jamal Adams? We'll talk about that next. Hey, what's going on? It's Will Bowling. Do you have a ceiling light fixture that flickers? Maybe you need an extra outlet or two, or do you just have wall switches that don't seem to work? Look, we all have these lists of things that have maybe not been working like they're supposed to around the house. My list has been long here for months, and when that happens, I just give Lee Company a call because these all seem to be simple issues. However, they are rarely do-it-yourself projects. You deal with electricity, well, that requires the expertise of an experienced professional. You got to call the pros over at Lee Company. Their electrical team, they can solve any problem you've got safely and efficiently. And right now, you can enjoy $20 off an electrical service call for a limited time. You just got to contact him. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000. That's 615-567-1000, or you head online to leecompany.com for an appointment. That's leecompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. Hour number 2, kicking off your Monday, kicking off the week on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Appreciate head coach of the Grimsley Whirlies, Daryl Brown, for joining us this morning. His quarterback, Faison Brandon, the number 1 player in the class of 2026 at any position, according to 247 Sports, committing to Tennessee over the weekend. We'll have more on that as the show continues this morning. And if you missed that chat, if you're a Vols fan, you can hit the podcast feed at the end of the show, and it will be right there for you in its entirety. Ramon Foster.
Yeah, before we go any further, this was the conversation I saw around this past weekend on Faison Brandon committing was how do you stack this type of talent at one position at quarterback? And, some saying Tennessee QB, you ain't gonna say QBU, but
so they're trying to be.
You're throwing the idea that Coach Heupel and his background in being a quarterback and this offense, right? Still capable of getting high 4-star, 5-star guys. Nico is a 5, George a 4 to be a 5 soon, right? And then you got Jake Merklinger, also a high 4. And now you also got the number 1 quarterback in this class of 2026 that's committed to you too. So the stigma around this offense, the stigma around Coach Heupel was what? Okay, it's gimmick offense, but why are you still getting talent? And here's what I say to that too. One, it's a throwers, passers offense. Coaches at the next level in the NFL want to see you throw the ball, right? That's one thing about it. And if he can complete it from hash to hash, player to player in this style of offense, it should be able to translate over. We're seeing Hendon right now with the clips that are coming out of Detroit, what they're capable of too. But on the stacking of this high amount of talent, I don't know if all of them going to stay. But you know what I still say? It's a great problem to have. This, UT Vols fans, is where Alabama has been for a while. This is where Georgia is at right now. This is where Texas is at with Quinn Ewers and also Arch Manning, right? Mm-hmm. This is what you do when you're trying to be those types of teams. And it's even better for the Vols because you get a young guy in this class of 2026 that's doing the exact same thing that George McIntyre is doing. Go ahead and recruit in your class to come to Tennessee with you.
And I think that's the significant part is when people will say, well, why is this guy committing so early? For a quarterback, he's committing right on time.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks now commit going into their junior seasons. And that's the most important part of your class of 2026 is now because the best wide receivers and the best DBs and the best offensive linemen, at least in the state of North Carolina, are going to have a little bit more of a reason to pay attention when Josh Heupel gives them a call. And that is where I think you're seeing Tennessee football in the class of 2025 has so much success is because you've got an in-state quarterback who's the number 1 player in the state of Tennessee in George McIntyre, who has become a recruiter for the rest of this class that's got a pretty good shot at being a top 5 recruiting class in the country when it's all said and done.
Immediately after the tight end committed to Oregon.
Deshaun Brain.
George McIntyre was right on it. And then a week later, flips right back to the Vols.
It is a little more than a week, but yes, point stance.
It was a quick turnaround.
It was about a month. Which is still considered a very quick turnaround. You're absolutely right.
I just wanted to throw that out there for the people trying to, how do you balance this talent? Clap.
Well, and I think too, for the fan that's going to sit there, and it's a valid question of saying but what if, what does this mean for George? What does this mean for Merklinger? This is a problem. A, it's the best problem you can possibly have. B, Ohio State won a national championship with their 3rd-string quarterback. Ohio State won a national title with Cardale Jones. And Tennessee this year, the one thing that could derail everything with respect to Jake Merklinger and Gaston Moore is an injury to Nico Iamaleava. Because they only have one other scholarship quarterback on the roster. You don't ever want to put yourself ever again after this season in a position where one injury to one player could derail everything. Great teams don't have that problem. Alabama this year, if Jalen Milroe goes down, they've got a 5-star in Ty Simpson waiting right there. They've got Julian Sayans sitting right there. This is what powerhouse programs do. They collect 5-star quarterbacks like they're Theodos with the Infinity Stones.
Jalen Hurts. To who was the quarterback that went in and helped secure that national championship?
Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Wasn't they same? So that's
decent
what
player.
We're saying.
He's making a little bit of money now in the NFL.
Got a couple dollars.
Just a little bit.
Couple dollars.
615-737-1045. The big news of the morning, according to Quandre Diggs. The first to report that Quandre Diggs is signing with the Tennessee Titans. Ian Rappaport had the contract details. 1 year base of $3 million with $2 more million in incentives. The max value of the contract is $5 million. Ramon Foster, what is the Quandre Diggs signing, coming off of a career high in tackles, but a career worst, nearly, tackling grade from Pro Football Focus? What does this mean for Jamal Adams?
It means Jamal Adams can be specific to the position that this defense needs him to play. It means that on the back end of things, or the back end of this defense, where we've said as of late, Jamal Adams has had a coverage issue. Now you don't have to worry about him being in a spot to where he has to go and be a deficiency in the passing game, right? Keeping the top on the defense. That's not going to be his specialty moving forward. You got guys who play specific roles. Now, this is something that we've talked about often on this show is you want to be able to craft a defense to where the DNA is always there, right? Guys that play specific roles. I can go back 10 years from now and tell you all the things that outside linebackers do in Pittsburgh. Why? Because they have a type. I can tell you the responsibility of having linebackers in Pittsburgh. Why? Because they have a type. I can tell you the safety position in Pittsburgh. What is modeled after? Troy Polamalu. So guess what you go do? You go get a Minka Fitzpatrick. These are the things that teams do whenever they have a DNA in place to understanding what they're supposed to look like on the field. And that's why I think now having a guy like Denard Wilson, even if he gets a head coaching job after this year, I think the standard in what you're looking for defensively is going to be set off the things that they've done this year, right? You got big D tackles up the middle. You got thumpers at linebacker. And on the back end, you got crazy athletes, right? Look at the guys that have been signed. So when you add another guy like Quandre Diggs, right, and you're still trying to figure out, well, what are we going to do with a guy like Jamal Adams? I love the signing a month or so ago, right? But he can't cover the back end of the defense. So you go get a Quandre Diggs to set him in a position to where he can do what he does. And from what we saw in practice, it's been close to the line of scrimmage, potentially covering the flats and being in a position to where if there's a tight end that's problematic, you know this, if he does get beat in coverage, right? If there's a crazy tight end that he has to cover, Buffalo, right? They got two. As far as
Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox.
Exactly. So if you have Jamal Adams on the field, I know this, they may catch the ball, but they're not going to break the tackle because that's his specialty. You now have a guy that can play 10 to 12 yards around the line of scrimmage and be effective. I've seen guys transition from being cover guys to being guys that play close to the line of scrimmage. Jamal Adams seems to be one of those guys moving forward, but his role gets an opportunity to expand more because you have what we hope to be a healthy eraser in a guy like Quandre Diggs. Not to even discount Amani Hooker, but now you got two guys that will have the knack to the ball. If I'm not mistaken, the 6 interception from last year, 3 of them may have been from Amani Hooker. I may be wrong, and I hope I'm right on that one. But that's what I'm hoping for Amani is now he has the ability to be a guy to play his position well too.
Yeah, defensively last season, 2 of the interceptions were Sean Murphy bunting, only 1 of them from Amani Hooker.
One of them was Amani.
Of your only 6 interceptions.
6.
You had as a defense last year. Jamal Adams was asked about Quandre Diggs a couple of weeks ago. 2 guys who are very close and who have been in communication throughout this offseason. This was Adams on Diggs at the beginning of training camp.
Yeah, we talk every day, man. Every day. Obviously, I'm the type, and he knows me. We've known each other for so long, since we were kids, and I'm not going to, push him to come here. Obviously, I would love for him to be here. But he has to figure out his process, on his own, and he will eventually. I know there's so many teams looking at him, and hopefully we get him.
So that was Adams on Diggs. He was also asked at the beginning of training camp about being okay to play in different spots within this defense and within Denard Wilson's scheme, and had this to say.
I'm going to take it on. Obviously, it's never easy to come in and learn a new system, but I'm willing to. Every day is a grind, and, every day I'm in my playbook just learning. Obviously, I'm out there just flying around and, just trying to, keep up with the guys. And, I'm going to have mistakes. I'm not perfect, and I'm not trying to be. So, when I'm out there and I have a mistake or two, obviously I just learn from it and I move on.
For me, Ramon, what this tells me is that this defense wants to be one of the top defenses in terms of forcing turnovers in the NFL this year. Last season, Denard Wilson was with the Baltimore Ravens on their defensive staff. You want to know where Baltimore ranked in terms of takeaways in the NFL?
Grudgingly tell me.
Number 1.
Okay, I figured.
The Baltimore Ravens forced 31 turnovers last season. That was tied with the New York Giants for best in the NFL. Now, granted, you don't have Kyle Hamilton. You don't have the defensive pieces. You don't have Amata BK. You don't have a lot of those big names of the Baltimore defense that will allow you to immediately be at the top of the league. But you're also not going to be where the Titans were last year, which was next to last. Only the Carolina Panthers forced less turnovers than the Tennessee Titans last year. Here's my thing, Ramon. In today's NFL and how difficult things are for defensive backs to not be flagged, I would rather have a big play defense that might give up more big plays when they're on the field, but who is going to take the ball away more, because the longer a drive goes, the more the rules are going to be slanted in the favor of the offense. The more Travis Kelce can shove you to the ground in the end zone, but it's defensive holding on you. If you don't let that team get to the red zone, or you just intercept it in the end zone or in the red zone, I mean, it's L'Jarius Sneed, sorry, Bert, cover your ears, punching the ball out on the 1 yard line. Yeah. That's the kind of defense this Titans team wants to have. Yes, will they give up some more big plays? Probably. I think this team will give up more explosive plays than they did last year. I also think, though, that they will have more big plays themselves in terms of forcing turnovers, putting the ball on the ground, and falling on it than they did in previous seasons.
I'd push back just a little bit, and here's the reason why, too. One, because of Amani Hooker on the back end, just slightly, but you got two corners. With Cheeto is out there and L'Jarius Sneed out there. It's not like they're Marcus Peters. Like, I think that if you had a Marcus Peters type of corner, right, to where he want to jump the ball, or even Jalen Ramsey is that type of guy. Although Jalen Ramsey closes out a little bit more, I think to where the big play's been given up. If they do, they have the ability, to your point, to get it back. But I'd say this: you got corners that can blanket guys. You got a couple nickels right now that can cover guys. Essentially, like watching the way this group fights. You're right. The ability to bat the ball in there, which they did this past weekend, and make an interception. Those types of things right there, we hadn't seen happen in a while. But if I got to live with the idea that they don't close out or they give up a 20-yard play, 30-yard play, I'll say this: I have, from what I've seen so far, confidence in the fact that they can shut it out as far as putting the blanket on an offense when necessary. And again, the defense hasn't been bad. What's been the biggest issue for this team is getting and creating turnovers in positions to where you just feel good about getting the ball back to the offense, because you are right about that. The more an offense can turn you out, the more they can keep you on the field. First down, okay. Second down, convert into a first down again. Having that ability right there is so clutch, which is why getting to hit on guys that can stop the run with just 4 is even better. Having Kenneth Murray in a position where he doesn't have to think and just go is even better. And I'll say this too: having players that sound just like the defensive coordinator. Listen to Jamal Adams. He sounded just like Denard Wilson. Did you pick that up right there, Bert? Like, I was asking Bert, like, can you play? They sound just alike. And I'm like, is this the product of being coached by Denard Wilson?
I think it's fair. I mean,
it is.
They were together at the beginning of Jamal's career.
I couldn't tell the difference. I was like, is this Denard Wilson talking or Jamal Adams? Which I hadn't heard him speak a whole lot anyway, but he sounds just like dude. That's my ADD picking up right there. That's all that was.
So if this defense stays healthy, Ramon,
yeah,
what is the ceiling in 2024 for a Tennessee Titans defense with L'Jarius Sneed, Chidobe Awuzie, Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams, Kenneth Murray, Sebastian Joseph Day, and Devondre Sweat added to complement Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry, and Amani Hooker? How good can this defense be? If that is best case scenario this season, is this a top 10 defense in the NFL?
I'd go top 12. And 12 just because, again, we got to see what Houston's did a lot. Like, there are some teams that got some really stacked up defenses. And the other thing is this, though, too. How much will, to your point about the defense, is the offense going to help them? Like, is the offense going to be productive enough to keep the defense on the sideline, too? Like, it's one thing to have that many interceptions or tackles for loss, but if we're speaking about second and long and then they're converting it to a first down consistently,
right,
that's problematic to me. Or the fact that the defense is out there for 32 minutes. They're getting a lot of tackles and a lot of stats, but how productive are you as far as getting off the field? So I think it plays both sides of the offense helping this defense, because at some point in time, no matter how good these guys are, if the offense can't hold on to the ball, be productive, they're going to get grinded out also. So my expectation, I'll throw, if they're as good as we think they can be, playoff teams is 14 teams. 16, 14, whatever it is, right? I'd expect this squad to be top 12 defense if healthy, at a minimum. It's the way I see it. Now, again, that's getting to the quarterback with 4. Can they actually do this?
16 teams in the NFL playoffs.
Yeah, 16. If they can be top 12, Will, I think they got a strong case to make the playoffs or at least be in contention in the AFC South to say, hey, look at us.
I think if they stay healthy, they are a top 10 defense in the NFL. I really do. I think that's asking a lot, though.
Yeah, it is.
Considering Chidobe Awuzie has not had a full season in a couple of years. Neither has Jamal Adams. But again, like if those guys stay healthy and are in a rotation to where, look, the sports performance staff here feels a lot better about their plan moving forward than maybe the plan that previous coaches and previous staffs had here. If they can keep these guys healthy, man, like this is a good defense. On paper, this defense should be great.
Yeah. And here's the other cool thing, too. Just looking this weekend, I told you guys on break, or we just spoke about it in the 6th, it's looking like they're competing better with the defense in practice now. The offense, that is.
There's a back and forth going on.
There's a back and forth.
Yep.
If you're being challenged by what you think could be one of the better defenses in the NFL this year, then the offense must get better. Now, here's the thing, too. You don't want to scar the offense by being too dominant in practice. And I know that might sound crazy. But Will Levis's ability to get the ball down the field and not every single time it get broken up, like the offense has to do its part too, as far as the developing, getting timing, understanding where I need to go to in certain places because Denard Wilson and his defense are making it tough in practice.
I think there's also a case to be made that this could end up being a top 10 defense roster-wise on paper, but there are other defenses in the NFL that don't have to see the quarterbacks you're going to see in the AFC South a total of 6 times. Yeah. Because you're going to have to see Trevor Lawrence and C.J. Stroud 4 times total. And then maybe you'll see Anthony Richardson twice if he can stay in the field. I doubt it. But still, that's not a bad quarterback division.
No. But to say you're going to combat guys this year, Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, Tua Tagovailoa, like you've now made the necessary steps to
Threw
get
Tua
it.
in there like it was just nothing.
I mean that.
No, I'm kidding. Tua's at least solid.
But my thing with
Tua's at least throwing a Tyreek Hill.
Tua's got. That's what I was going to say. He's got the number 1 player in the world right now in the NFL. It's
It's just funny. It's like Anthony Edwards being like, they got KD, we got Jaden McDaniels. They've got Mike McDaniel. 615-737-1045. Some Vols news over the weekend. We've given you the positive about the quarterback they got. They're also losing a starter for the season, but there might be a more than capable backup ready for Tennessee football. We'll give you that headline next.
If you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation to drive, gaining weight, or noticing a loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone. Don't wait. Find out. At Low-T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple test with their on-site lab. You'll get results back in about 25 minutes. Low-T Center is also not a typical doctor's office. Their physicians specialize in treating low testosterone with customized therapy, or TRT, for each patient. The experts at Low-T Center have over a decade of experience helping patients achieve life-changing results, and most health insurance is accepted for treatment. For established patients with stable T levels, they also offer a convenient physician-monitored self-injection treatment that ships directly to your home each month without the need to come in for the weekly visits. Also, at Low-T Center, you can get your health evaluated for treatments with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medication. So, get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low-T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Well, some bad news for Tennessee football over the weekend. Despite the fact that they added a 5-star quarterback, they're losing a corner for the 2024 season. We got that coming up for you in just a moment here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW. But we've been talking a lot about the Titans defense this morning with the Quandre Diggs signing reportedly made yesterday. Let's go to Jeremy in Nashville. What's up, Jeremy? Jeremy, what's up?
Jeremy. Paging Jeremy.
Swing and a miss.
Swing and a miss.
It's all right.
Oh, man.
All right, well, let's talk about the Tennessee injury first before we go back to Jeremy and talk a little bit of Titans. Jordan Thomas will miss the 2024 season as first reported by Austin Price and VolQuest.com, friend of the show. Jordan Thomas suffered a knee injury on Saturday, which will require surgery. Ramon, he was going to be the starter at nickel for Tennessee. Of course, the nickel position in the Tennessee 4-2-5 defense is kind of a hybrid safety and corner. They call it the star defense within Tim Banks' group. But this opens the door for freshman Boo Carter to get considerable playing time right off the top. However you spin it, though, not good news for Tennessee.
It's not, because the experience that Jordan Thomas has, man. Sucks for him. Again, this is the price of doing business in football. Somebody's going to get injured here and there, man. And here's my thing. As a player, it would suck, right? As a teammate of a guy like Jordan Thomas. But you look at it and you say, if you do believe that you have the talent in a guy like Boo Carter, then, hey, young man, let's grow up. Let's grow up real fast, because we're going to need you early and often this year. And we've heard the conversation around Boo all year long anyway, is he's not like a regular freshman. My understanding from his junior year to his senior year in high school, he got exponentially better, man. And just now, all the conversation out of Knoxville has been that Boo is that type of guy. But you can never replace talent, man, especially when you're putting freshmen out there. You just hope that they rise to the occasion and are what you evaluated them to be, and that's playmakers. So I'm excited for Boo. It sucks for Jordan Thomas, man, because you know how it can go in this league. Like, if you're out, then you can be forgotten that quick, too. So I'm wishing him a speedy recovery, man, and just hoping this defense has the guys we think they have, so they can not lose, not miss a beat.
Yeah, it is certainly unfortunate. 74 defensive snaps for Jordan Thomas. That was his career high against Missouri last year, where he had his career high 7 tackles. Played in all 13 games as a freshman. Made 1 start last season. I honestly think, Ramon, that Boo Carter was going to push himself into the starting lineup by the time SEC play started anyway.
Yeah.
Now he's just probably going to be in the starting lineup on August 31st when Tennessee hosts Chattanooga.
This ain't a bad thing. I mean, it's not a terrible thing. It's terrible for Jordan Thomas, but when you want to be this type of team, here's the other thing that has to happen. You got to start playing young guys early, right? This is the Alabamas, right? This is the Georgias. This is the Michigans, where they throw these guys out there early. And Boo Carter, to me, is I'm hoping he hits a home run for a lot of reasons. One, because he's from the state, right? He's from Tennessee,
Bradley Central,
and a guy that's had a lot of fanfare behind him. I want to see him back it up. All things that I've heard is he's got it. He's got it. So I'm not as worried as some may be about this one. It just sucks for the young man, Jordan Thomas.
Let's try Jeremy in Nashville again, 615-737-1045. What's up, Jeremy?
Hey, not much, guys. What's going on? Happy Monday. Stuck on 24, the black hole that is Nashville, Tennessee. What you were saying about the Titans defense, we've seen, like I was telling Bert earlier, we've seen this before with a defense that was, top 10 or, obviously could hold their own with most offenses, and then the offense just never sustaining drives. At one point, I think under Dumpster Juice Downing, they didn't have a touchdown or in the first half of any game for 6 or 7 games or something like that. And you can't expect the defense to hold the team in the games as long as they have in the past and not start giving up points. So, yeah, I mean, this defense does look like it could really be something good on paper, but if the rest of the, stuff isn't working out, then, they can't stay out there like that. There's teams around the league that we've seen that before, like with the Browns. I know how much you like the Browns there, Ramon.
Love them.
They've looked great on paper, and then they go out there and they look exactly like the Browns, So you obviously want the team to work together and be able to, have that time of possession be balanced so that you can flip the field and keep them out there the whole game so that your offense can run up the score on them. But, yeah, on paper, they look great, and I believe that this offense will come around. Callahan's got a track record of having some really good offenses. So, I'm optimistic on both sides of the ball. They just got to put it together, and with this coaching staff, I think they can. That's all I got. I'll talk to y'all later.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Love that, Jeremy. Love that shot right there, too. That was awesome.
Much you love the Browns.
Jeremy gets me.
Known Browns lover, Ramon Foster.
Nah, never has said that.
Coming up, the big headline of the morning, the Titans have signed safety Quandre Diggs, as first reported by Quandre Diggs. We'll tell you what our friend of the show, Randy Mueller, wrote in The Athletic earlier this summer about Diggs. And, Ramon Foster, I get to talk some track and field with you.
I can't wait.
Here on the show. Noah Lyles, a gold medalist. Take that, Jamaica. We got that for you next. Hey, what's going on? It's Will Bowling here for my friends at Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. Go where the pros go. Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. They've got locations all around Middle Tennessee, Nashville, Bellevue, Murfreesboro, Brentwood, Mower, Hendersonville, Mount Juliet, Franklin. Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply is having an end of summer Spartan zero turn clearance sale. They got Spartan residential and commercial mowers on clearance. You will not find a better deal on a new Spartan mower anywhere. And this sale, guys, is not going to be repeated. You get a steal of a deal on a brand new Spartan zero turn mower before they are gone. You got to go where the pros go. Whether you're looking for quality parts, products, and the best advice, visit your one-stop shop for turf. That's Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. And fall is right around the corner. They're going to help you with all the fertilizers, seeds, pre-emergents, and herbicides needed to get your property ready for the year. DickensSupply.com. That's the website you need to know. With 7 convenient Middle Tennessee locations, you are never far away from a Dickens Turf and Landscape Supply. Go where the pros go. That's DickensSupply.com.
What's going on? Just about 8:01. Good morning. Happy Monday from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans made a splash over the weekend, adding a new safety to the room. Another former Seahawk, Quandre Diggs, signing a one-year deal worth up to $5 million. Diggs started every game the last 4 years, piling up 15 interceptions over that same time period. An injury update for the first running back drafted in the 2024 draft. Panthers' second-round rookie running back Jonathan Brooks will not play during the preseason and is unlikely to make his NFL debut until around week 3 or week 4 of the regular season, according to head coach Dave Canales. Brooks is recovering from an ACL tear suffered in college at Texas. And five-star quarterback Faison Brandon committed to Tennessee over the weekend. The 6'4", 202-pound quarterback from Greensboro, North Carolina, chose the Vols over Alabama, LSU, NC State, and is ranked the number 1 quarterback in 2026. We had his head coach, Daryl Brown, on the show at 7 o'clock. You can check that out on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Eight a.m., second half of the show on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW 104.5 The Zone. What's going on?
Hey, what up, good people?
Ramon Foster, Will Bowling, Robert Walsh. Kayla Anderson has the morning off. She will be back with us tomorrow. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. It's going to be a really fun experiment because I've got terrible hiccups right now.
Do you really? What in the world?
With only two of us, it's going to be harder for me to hide that off the microphone. You're just going to have to bear with me.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, man. Hiccups, that's what I tell my kids. It just I've been happy. Whoa, wait a minute.
Don, he's still hiccuping, dude. I thought it would scare it out of you.
Somebody just swerved to the next lane, Bert. Hey.
Coming up, our next traffic update will be in because somebody was listening to Robert Walsh on the soundboard. We've got a 5-car pile up there on 24.
We just heard
Proceed with caution. That's traffic at home for Titans football, 104.5 The Zone.
Jeremy just complained about 24, man. Now Bert's adding to it right now.
It is a black hole.
It is. That is one interstate that I am not a fan of.
In the F&M Big Chat, you can join the discussion on YouTube. Zach says, chug water and pull your right ear down while chugging.
I love these old remedies, man. I've always heard just hold your breath. Just don't pass out. Hold my breath. You are?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, there's nothing you can do about that. Well, it just means you're growing. You're a growing boy, man. That's all. Hiccups push.
Patronize me. There I go.
There you go. You couldn't do it. Honestly, you hit the off button good enough to where it's hidden. So this dude is really in the here.
It's not good.
Hiccups right now.
Not good.
What are you, man? 12? Come on, man.
But what does that have to do with hiccups?
Because
old people hiccup too.
Do they?
My grandma died like that.
Get the hell out of here. No, she did.
She couldn't stop.
Relax.
She hiccuped for like 4 months and she just couldn't take it anymore. Hung up the cleats.
I genuinely can't tell if you're being serious or not.
I'm sorry. R.I.P. Granny. That's for real. The hiccups got her. Now my grandpa is like so superstitious about hiccups. They're like, oh, they're coming for me too.
Scoop on YouTube says, hold your breath for the rest of the show. Nope.
Never breathe again.
We found one of the Vandy fans in the chat this morning.
Never breathe again.
We found a Vanderbilt baseball fan.
He said kidding at the end.
Yeah, he said I'm kidding.
Never. How about this, buddy? Never breathe again.
Get ready to learn oxygen, buddy.
Hey.
615-737-1045. If you got a hiccup remedy for me.
Curtis in the chat is also saying, hung up the cleats is wild.
Yeah, that's a wild way to say someone died. They hung up the cleats.
Come on, bro. Granny 10 toes down right now. What are you doing?
He said, definitely hate Vandy.
10 toes in the ground.
You're crazy. There's something
Can't
wrong
wait to
with
talk
you.
to your alive grandmother. I got a feeling she's still making Sunday dinner, and you out here just unliving her right now. What's wrong with you?
You know what else is alive?
Tell me.
A new safety in the Titans defensive back room.
Stop. That was okay. That was cool.
Quandre Diggs added 1 year, $3 million. A little bit of a hiccup over the summer when the Titans did not have him in the... That didn't work. Randy Mueller writing about Quandre Diggs earlier today. Ramon, you want to read this, considering I'm not going to be able to get through this without hicking up? Without hicking up.
Yeah.
Hiccuping.
Where are we at on Randy Mueller? All right, friend of the show, Randy Mueller. He had a career-high 95 tackles last season. It's Quandre Diggs. His first step quickness is still a plus, and his instincts for reading and breaking on things from the post make him a good fit for zone coverage for most teams. He's still only 31 and has solid leadership qualities also. He also goes on to say, I actually think a return to the Motor City, which is the Detroit Lions, where he spent his first 5 years in the league, would make some sense. The Lions remade their secondary, especially at corner, and a veteran communicator could be just what the doctor ordered to bring the back end together. Diggs made good money in Seattle, so perhaps he would be willing to take a discount to join a contender. And his prior ties to the Lions could be helpful. He would fit seamlessly into the new culture under Dan Campbell.
That is what the athletic football GM, Randy Mueller, said earlier this summer.
And again, we had this conversation earlier. If he'd have gone to a team like Detroit or Philly, or we will throw the Jets in there, right? Those types of teams, Baltimore.
Kansas City.
All
the above.
Dallas, right? All those types of teams. This would be a big signing. This would be, hey, this is one of the final pieces we need to be competitive. I will say this also. I do think this team is going to be in a position to be competitive. We've talked about the injuries and the age of certain guys. We've spoken about a lot of this stuff as it pertains to how this team has been built this offseason. The list of free agent signings this year has been long. It has been impactful too. And what we're wanting to see is these guys stay healthy and also be the dudes that we think they are. This year in particular, it's been a bunch of one-year signings for the most part. There's been a few. What you get is this: guys trying to prove themselves, and when guys are trying to prove themselves, if they stay healthy, you're going to get the best version of them on the field. And that's why I think Rand and Chad and A-Rob.
Chad Brinker and Anthony Robinson. Assistant
GMs were planning to do here with this team.
All right, Jimmy in Hendersonville, please help me. What's up, Jimmy?
What's up, Jimmy?
Yeah, this works every time, man. I've never had it fail. 1 teaspoon of regular white sugar.
Oh.
Just put the whole thing in your mouth, swallow it, they're gone.
Dry?
Seriously.
Okay. Do we have sugar in our kitchen? Thank you, Jimmy.
Sure.
Yeah, where were you 3 years ago, man? I can still have my granny right now.
Goodness sakes.
Granny didn't eat the sugar hike like that. No,
She would have took that spoonful. She would have took that spoonful to still be here.
Spoonful of sugar helps medicine go down.
Spoonful of sugar. I know we got honey in there. I wonder will that work too.
It's not sugar.
It's sugar.
There's sugar in it.
A spoonful of sugar will keep your granny around. That kind of.
All right. This is getting ridiculous.
Y'all think I'm joking. I'm dead
I really do think you're joking.
I am dead serious.
I don't know what to think anymore, Bert.
Exactly.
It's my granny.
You're serious about someone being dead? All right.
She just cooked you raccoon last weekend.
No.
Raccoon and rice. That's what you just had.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We did not eat that.
Not this year.
It was squirrel.
Squirrel gravy and rice, baby. That's some home
ferret.
She would have loved it.
You know what I loved over the weekend?
No, we don't, Will.
Noah Lyles winning a gold medal.
Tell us about it, man.
I love the way track and field right now not only has big stars that are young, big personalities, but you have got guys and girls that are talking the talk and walking the walk. And Noah Lyles did that. 9.784, new PB for Noah, who beats Jamaica's Kashane Thompson by 5 thousandths of a second. It was the closest 100-meter final since at least Moscow in 1980, or maybe ever. And again, the way hand times worked back in the day, I won't give you the minutia of how all that works. But first American to win the men's 100 gold medal at the Summer Olympics since Vol for Life Justin Gatlin in 2004. This was completely electric.
It was. The finish, Will. Did you tell him how close of a finish this was?
5 thousandths of a second. It was the closest 100-meter final since 1980 Moscow.
what's crazy is, and you're right, Cousin Roger put in our chat, Lyles is too much. You're right, he is. He lets you know he's in a room. He's the type of guy that jumps out in front of everything, and he's talked a lot. If you watch the end of the race, you saw Joel Embiid leaving out as Noah Lyles' mom is coming down, and I got a feeling a lot of those NBA guys are probably, hey, they do want to support, but you remember the controversy he had with them is this is the world champion. Like, there was a lot of people preying on his downfall.
That was the You're Not That Guy on this show last summer, because last year Noah Lyles won the world championship in the 100 meters. And he said, world champion of what? When you win an NBA championship, you're the world champion of what? America? I am an actual world champion, he said. He's not wrong, but also at the same time, all the best players in the world all play in the NBA. So you really are the world champion when you win an NBA finals. There's no doubt.
It's a world
100%.
But here's the thing about him being loud and out front and just being a guy. He even tweeted about it. You get a lot of people's truths after they accomplish something. And he went on to tweet this out last night, man. He said, severe asthma, actually, on the TV broadcast. He said, I have asthma, allergies, dyslexia, ADD, anxiety, and he deals with depression. He said, but I will tell you that what you have does not define what you can become. Why not you? Like, I do like that. I do think a lot of our youth need to see and hear that too, where a lot of people make excuses for why they can't, why they shouldn't, why they've been denied. And I can appreciate somebody in that moment who I will even say, even I said, he better win. Because he talked a lot. He has a lot of eyes on him with how he goes about his career, man.
And
so
he even said within the rounds, he said, I may have lost my first race in the round one, but I'm going to win my last race. And he said all along that he was coming there to win gold and essentially nothing else. Noah Lyles is very fun. I obviously, as a former track runner and as someone who broadcasts for the American Track League and does a lot of these big meets with these Olympian athletes, I think our sport is in just such a good place because Shane Thompson at Jamaica, this was his first ever world championship race. He did not make a world championship race ever before in his career. He's only 23.
Wow.
So the Jamaicans have been looking for a medalist since Usain Bolt, and they've not had a gold medalist since he retired. And in his last race, two Vols, Christian Coleman and Justin Gatlin, finished ahead of him in his last ever race. So Jamaica is looking for their new next up guy, and they found him. Shane Thompson at 23, his interview afterwards was great, where he essentially said, like, no, I didn't get the job done, and I'll be back. He owned it. That is going to be a really fun rivalry between those two and between Oblique Seville, the other Jamaican runner who came in with the second fastest time in the prelim and then finished 8th and just did not have a good race. Noah Lyles was in 8th until, I believe, 30 meters left in that race. The middle phase of his race was genuinely picture perfect. We got asked a question on YouTube, can I explain the finishing rules for you? Yes, it is your torso crossing the finish line that is what gets you across the line first. So there's pictures out there. People are complaining because Shane Thompson and Fred Curley, the American who got bronze, their foot crossed first before anyone else. That would give you a major advantage if you just had long legs. Everyone has the same size torso. So that is why the torso is why when you cross that way, it's for that reason because everyone has the same size, relatively, right? Like there's not a big a difference between like leg length and torso size. Like it's pretty much all the same. But also, you would hurt yourself badly. That's an unnatural movement to put your foot across first. So if you're reaching your foot out first, you're going to tear a hamstring like every other time you race. So it's safer for the athletes, and it's also the easiest way to note there's not a competitive disadvantage among who wins. But Noah Lyles is that guy. If we can keep the stick up in our hands, we should win the 4x1 as well.
What about the 200 for Noah Lyles also?
200's tricky. Arion Knighton is a young runner who broke Usain Bolt's world U20 record 2 summers ago. And Arion Knighton, his biggest rival is also an American. So again, you're going to have a country versus country, like an American versus American rival.
Love that.
Where Arion Knighton and Noah Lyles don't really get along. And it's going to be really fun. The 200, we'll see. Noah is going for you. That is the Usain Bolt world record that's more under watchful eye to me. But Grant Holloway is going to run a world record in the 110 hurdles. I'm just so excited we can talk track this week. This is the only time where I can go into my world and y'all care about it. So I'm gonna enjoy that. We might have some guests on from Paris, baby, that can help us do that. We'll see.
Do it.
Perhaps. Stay tuned for that. 615-737-1045. Coming up, You're Not That Guy. More reaction on Quandre Diggs. We got both of those for you coming up next. Monday morning, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW on 104.5 The Zone. It is time to complain, coming up in just a few moments. At the moment, Simone Biles just competed in the floor exercise final at the Paris Olympic Games. What is the ruling on spoiling something that happens at 8:30 in the morning?
You should be up. So if we're spoiling anything, it's on you for being asleep at this hour.
I feel like the world workday has not yet begun. At 8:25 a.m., you cannot use the excuse to me that you are at work and missed it.
You know the issue, though, Will, and you trying not to spoil something if you're a sports fan. If you are a sports fan, you have one of these sports apps sending notifications to your phone anyway. I was in a vehicle the other day when I got alerts that Simone had won, and I was just like, well, I hadn't watched it yet. And you know what I had to say to myself? Well, you know the results because you have sports updates coming to your phone.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you want to tell, then I ain't got no problem with you telling. Okay. But yeah, go America.
Simone Biles had a couple of deductions. She's going to get silver, it looks like, in the floor exercise.
Yeah.
Andrade from Brazil beats her by like a third of a point.
And we've spoken about her before too, Andrade. She's a young lady
Rebecca Andrade.
Had 3 ACL surgeries and recoveries in the last 4 years. And Simone even said, I'm tired of seeing competing against you.
Literally.
Because she's so good. And Simone's not wrong in that. It's not like she lost to somebody that was an upset. I think we thought Simone would get gold and everything, but Rebecca Andrade is that good, though, too.
She's very good.
If it wasn't for Simone, we'd be speaking about her.
All the time.
Yes.
That's right. Interesting. Tom Brady there in the building in Paris as well.
I saw him with his kids and everything, man. Right. Awesome, man. It's a lot of celebrities over there. Well, we got to get invited to L.A., man.
Absolutely. Jeez. All right, it is time to load up the phone lines to take to the streets on any grievances you need to air. Yes, it is time for You're Not That Guy. (615-737-1045). How you join us for You're Not That Guy. And I've got a You're Not That Guys for, I think, the worst team in professional sports right now. Have you guys been paying attention to the Chicago White Sox this season?
Yes. Oh, my God.
They are in the middle now of the longest losing streak in 36 years of Major League Baseball. Falling 13-7 yesterday. They get beat by the Minnesota Twins. Guys, the Chicago White Sox have lost 20 games in a row. Royce Lewis hit a 3-run home run off Chris Flexen, who was doing anything but yesterday. Flexen. A 6-run second inning that gave Minnesota an 8-0 lead. The White Sox now, they rallied. They cut it to 10-7. I watched a little bit of this broadcast, and they kept saying, well, you know, of all the games, they've shown the most fight today of any other game. They're looking for something, anything, to say is positive. They are 27-87. Longest losing streak in the big league since the 88 Orioles lost 21 games in a row. That is the AL record. The NL record is held by the 1961 Phillies, who lost 23 in a row. The Major League record is a 26-game losing streak set by the 1889 Louisville Colonels. Step aside, Louisville. 6 more games, the White Sox might be joining you. Chicago, you are not that guy.
Oh, my. What a terrible, terrible, terrible team, man. 20 straight wins losses in a row.
Hopefully when they come to Nashville, they'll be better than that.
Have they been hanging around the Cleveland Browns? Like, legitimately. Like, I hate to say it's baseball, but they're not those guys. Like, seriously.
Worst franchise outlook right now, the Carolina Panthers or the Chicago White Sox?
Because I love football.
Exactly.
It's funny you bring the Panthers up right now because kind of like similar to the Titans, how there's kind of like this breath of positivity. It's similar to the Panthers right now because the guys they've brought in, they have new skill positions. There's optimism that Bryce Young isn't going to be slammed into the ground every play. So in Carolina, they are pretty positive right now.
Somebody asked on YouTube, is it coaching or talent? It's talent. They have none. except for former Tennessee pitcher Garrett Crochet and center fielder Luis Robert. That's about it. Ramon Foster, what you got for us?
Oh, my gosh. This is a good one. I'm sure you've seen it on your timeline, but I needed to get this one. For the folks, I'll say that I started off by saying this. We need a new age of influencers. Just in totality.
Do we even need influencers at all?
I think they can be good when, you're highlighting a business and stuff like that. But, like, to be used by different people to influence folks the wrong way, I think it was either in New York or California. There's a guy that started up a fake website to say that he had a 5-star ramen restaurant. And on top of this, these folks showed up because he created this ambiance of a fake restaurant. He created these fake pictures of ramen being sold. For a while, they had folks waiting to get into this ramen 5-star chef ramen fake restaurant for hours. I think there were over 200, 300 people waiting in line to get to this ramen restaurant. Some people even ate the ramen, y'all, and said they pay $45 to $50 for this ramen, okay? It was all fake. It was all fake. They were sold top ramen microwavable cups of ramen. And these folks, because we have this influencer age of hot takes and hot things and let me be the first one on the scene, they fell for it. You guys were scammed into thinking you had a 5-star chef making you ramen and all you got was microwavable noodles, man. So for the people that showed up and bought into these influencers, one, you influencers suck because y'all fell for it. But for the people that fell for this scam or this pop-up shop ramen place and said you pay $45 to $50 for a bowl, you're not that guy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Fair enough.
That was so bad.
Ramen's too hard to eat. Like when you go somewhere with really nice ramen, I feel like you're getting more just soup on your shirt than you are actual food.
True, too.
You got to really enjoy the broth. I like all the accoutrement that comes with it. Like when they give you all the basil, the cilantro, the rice noodles, all that kind of stuff. But it's definitely if you're into it, you're into it. If you're not, you're not.
I've had it a couple times. It's good. Like Bert said, you got to be into the texture and the noodles and stuff like that. I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. But
texture of the noodle.
Yeah, because I hate soft noodles, man. I shouldn't say. But either way, it's got to be good. There has to be some contrast.
You're an al dente kind of guy.
Known soft noodle hater, Ramon Foster.
Legitimately, yeah.
Soft noodle Ramon Foster. My You're Not That Guy this week goes to this stupid NFL Top 100 ranking. It is so dumb. Every year it makes people upset, and I'm upset once again. I know I shouldn't buy into it because that's what they want. They want people to be like, this guy should have been higher. This guy should have been lower. But the one thing I'm upset about is the over-evaluation of names. Any guesses how many games Joe Burrow played in last year?
It's like 4 or 5, wasn't he?
7.
He played in 9.5.
Okay.
In the first 5 games, he only had 5 touchdowns, 4 turnovers, and a passer rating of 78.3. But that did not matter to the people over at the NFL Ranking Association, whatever the hell they're called, because he was ranked 39th. He was apparently the 39th most valuable player in the NFL despite only playing 9.5 games, despite his team not going to the playoffs, despite his team not winning, despite his team having so many injuries all around them. They couldn't overcome the injury, couldn't overcome Jake Browning at quarterback. But Joe Burrow is still at 39. That makes absolutely no sense to me. There are plenty of players, such as Jalen Johnson for the Bears, who was not even ranked, not even in the top 100. And that would have to be so frustrating as a player. And maybe it's not, Ramon. Maybe this stuff doesn't matter to players, but getting the recognition from your peers, getting the recognition from the media, from the fans, would mean a whole lot to me, especially if I was a Pro Bowl player who was getting none of it. So for the NFL Top 100, you are not that guy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
It's fair.
Yeah, I love that one, Bert. And I'll be honest with you, as a player that's filled out those forms, you really don't think about it. You mindlessly go through players that have name recognition to you that you understand are good players, and it sucks because you're right. A lot of guys who should be properly evaluated and held up higher don't get that opportunity because it's such a sped up hogwash type of event the way they have you do it. Like, one, you got to write it in. Give me a laptop and let me just punch it in. Like, there's a lot of flaws in this system that I think should be called out on. So, yeah, I'm with you on that one.
I did have a second submission from Taylor out in Nashville who did not have time to stay on the line, but it kind of went hand in hand with Will's hiccups. Did you guys know Barry Sanders had the hiccups for over a year?
Yeah, right.
Barry Sanders had to deal with hiccups for over a year. For that, Barry Sanders, you are not that guy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
That's terrible.
It would be pretty tough to scare him. Like, what would Barry Sanders be scared of? And you know that dude, he could do a handstand. He could hold his breath. He's a peak athlete.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that he had to deal with that for that long. I didn't even fact check this, so it could be wrong, but the caller could just be feeding me false information.
Well, there you go. If that's the case, then you have to call yourself not that guy next week.
I'll say who else is not that guy. Olympic floor exercise judges. Something crazy just happened. So Jordan Childs was the last one to go, U.S. gymnast. She did her routine. She got 5th. And then now 3 minutes later, they just changed some of the rulings, and she now got bronze.
Get out of here.
And she is like in tears, celebrating with family. This is a tender moment.
What happened?
I don't know. I have it on mute. Well, we've been talking.
No.
I have to go to Twitter, see what happened. But she got upgraded to bronze. Anyway, spoiler alert.
What a dub.
Brad in Murfreesboro up next. 615-737-1045. What's up, Brad?
Guys, thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Love the show. Love the segment. I haul fuel for a living, gas to gas stations as a owner-operator. Sunday morning, actually probably about midday, I'm hauling fuel. I'm at a Kroger's over in East Nashville. I'm dropping roughly 9,000 gallons of fuel into the ground, into a tank. Any rate, lady pulls up. Of course, it was busy. There's almost a car at every pump. Lady pulls up. She's roughly 6 feet from where I'm dropping fuel. Leaves her car running. She gets out. I asked her, I said, "Hey, ma'am, I'm going to need you to cut your car off for me." She goes into a huff and goes hysterically crazy. Cusses me, cusses the manager, cusses the clerk, backs up, revs the car, tucks off, headed towards us. I looked at the manager and I said, "Listen, if she gets about 2 feet from these pumps, from the wells that are in the ground that are the holding tanks," and I said, "I'm jumping on the car." And she goes, "You think she'll get that close?" And I'm like, "I don't know. She's acting really nuts." Long story short, she ends up taking photos of my truck, taking photos of my tags, photos of the trailer. I've never quite seen anything like this ever before. I've had all kinds of people I've had to ask to turn off their vehicles, but this was a new all-time level of disturbed, or I don't know. It was strange.
Goodness.
She definitely gets my vote.
You're not that girl. There you go.
Equal opportunity here.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Yeah.
It seems like not too unrealistic of a request.
That's terrible right there. Turn your car off.
Yeah, I wanted to apologize for how Cheyenne acted this weekend. It bangs a big mark on me in my house. So I got an update. I misspoke. It was not Barry Sanders. It was Bo Jackson.
Oh, I had heard that before,
so,
actually.
In 2023, this article came out. Bo Jackson says he will undergo a procedure after dealing with chronic hiccups for nearly a year. He went on McElroy and Kublik in the morning, and the doctors could not figure out what was wrong with him. And I can't find out if he had a resolution to that. So we'll effort finding out whether Bo Jackson's still doing that or not.
That is our sister station down in Birmingham. Just a little, hiccup in his life. That year where he had hiccups every day. Not my best. Eric in Nashville's next. What's up, Eric?
What's up, Eric?
Hey, guys. One of the things I hate to do is call out stuff when I see it, controversial stuff, guys, and I'm going to Olympics. But I'm not going to the obvious ones that you think I'm going to, because there were two obvious things that happened. I'm staying away from both of those. I'm actually going to another controversy that I saw on the video on the news thing that's not been talked about a lot. The Israelis were, of course, they were singing the national anthem at the Israeli in Paris. They were playing the Israeli national anthem. They were waving the flag, proud of singing their national anthem. When unfortunately there was another shot of the crowd showing a bunch of people with Palestinian flags chanting Heil Hitler and doing the Nazi salute.
Oh.
Guys, it is just so disgusting when I see stuff like that. There's obviously these people who are doing that I have no history of Nazi Germany and Hitler and all that type of stuff, the concentration camps. If you're doing that, you are disgusting just people to be doing stuff like that while the Israelis are celebrating their national anthem and their proud heritage, guys. And to those Palestinians that are doing that at the Olympics, you are definitely not that guy. Guys, y'all take care. We'll talk to you soon.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
That is insane.
Yeah, that is nuts, man.
It was during soccer. I'm looking at the video right now.
That's nuts, man. Oh,
Crazy.
I'm so intrigued with that.
I know.
It's not our show, but that is something I just can't get behind. Even here when they go to Nashville, I cannot understand.
It's literally insane.
Not to switch off Eric's point really quickly, but I found another article about Bo Jackson. So this is from March 13th of this year, saying that he was still dealing with these hiccups. So now it has almost been 2 years that Bo Jackson has been dealing with the hiccups.
Wow. If I go under to have surgery for something, it needs to be fixed, okay? Especially like the hiccups.
Can you imagine sitting in the waiting room with your family? They're like, oh, I can't wait to go back to living normal, like, and watch some of your highlights. It's like, yeah, the first thing I'm going to do is... And it's like, oh no.
No, you're not.
Who did you just deal with? Who just got surgery?
Can you get a refund on that?
I would need one.
615-737-1045. Nicholas Petit-Frere was back on the Titans practice field over the weekend. We heard from him, and you will hear from him coming up next.
Everywhere I go, I see Ford Broncos all over the road, and they're all different. Soft tops, hard tops, Big Bend, the Heritage style with the white tops, Black Diamond, the Raptor, and even the smaller Bronco Sports. There's so many options, color combinations, and so many different packages and trim levels. That's why the Two Rivers Ford team invites you to get to know the Ford Bronco. This is an open invite. Yes, if you're thinking about it, you don't need to be in the market for a vehicle. The Two Rivers Ford has a team of Bronco experts on hand to introduce you to the Ford Bronco, answer your questions, let you test drive, show you the on-road and off-road capabilities, the technology, the accessories, so many different items, man, when it comes to the Ford Bronco. And remember this, too, when you go to Two Rivers Ford, they have a non-commissioned sales team, too, so there's no pressure into buying anything. They're there to educate you, to help you answer your questions and introduce you to the really cool vehicle that you might not know a lot about. That's one of the reasons people love doing business with Two Rivers Ford and why they're the South's most trusted Ford dealer. So go see my friends at Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet, just 7 miles east of the airport, and get to know the Ford Bronco. Two Rivers Ford is your Ford Bronco headquarters. It's Ramon Foster for Genesis Diamonds, man. This week it is GIA week, all right? So don't be surprised this week to see other jewelry store owners shopping at Genesis. They'll be taking advantage of Genesis' most aggressive offer ever. All GIA diamond engagement rings are marked down an extra 20% below Genesis' everyday price. That's right. The vault is open and Genesis is selling the finest handcrafted diamond rings at rock bottom prices now for a very limited time. The GIA is the world standard in diamond grading, certifying accuracy and documenting quality so you can buy with confidence. Every Genesis engagement ring is included in this event, from a half a carat up to 20 carat stones, all shapes, rounds, radiance, pear-shaped, princess cuts, emerald cuts, cushion cuts, oval, whatever you need, they have. There has never been a better time to get an extreme value price on GIA certified diamonds, perfectly set in a gorgeous engagement ring. Hurry in for the best selection. It's Genesis Diamonds GIA Diamond Extravaganza, where you can save an extra 20% on these rare, precious diamond rings now for a limited time. And it's one per customer exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Nicholas Petit-Frere was back on the practice field over the weekend for the Tennessee Titans, and our 11-year NFL veteran was there to watch him. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW 104.5 The Zone, 615-737-1045. And Jim Wyatt of TennesseeTitans.com is coming up in a half hour. So NPF, Nicholas Petit-Frere, spoke to the media over the weekend. On Saturday, after getting back on the practice field for the second time, had this to say about his extended reprieve from playing football.
I mean, I'm just blessed to be here. I mean, I haven't put on pads or I haven't put on a helmet since October because, I mean, I had my injury with my knee. So once I had the injury with my shoulder and then to my knee, I haven't been able to put on a helmet till today. So I'm just blessed to get another chance to be out here with the guys. It's been tough just seeing everybody working, and I've been around the whole time, so it's just a blessing to finally get a chance to work with them and be around the guys.
Ramon Foster, what did you see as you watched Nicholas Petit-Frere work once again on the practice field over the weekend?
First thing that stood out was a little bit of tired legs. Like, he's ready to go, but you can tell like he like those hip flexors are just a little bit less, I guess, aggressive than other guys are. I saw this. I saw a guy that looked like an NFL player too in him. After seeing his individual and seeing how I'm getting used to, catching his legs underneath him, I saw Harold get him on one play on one-on-ones, and then immediately the next play, he ended up getting Harold back. So he's fighting for it, man. My assessment was this past weekend. I think we'll get more into it. So they had the right tackle position alternating every play. Usually coaches, offensive line coaches give, hey, you get three, you get three, you get three. No, they were interchanging after each and every play. And it was reported over this weekend, but it was NPF, it was Jalen Duncan, and then it was John Ojukwu. The significant thing was John Ojukwu went mostly at the right tackle with the twos. Again, there's a lot of tales that happen in training camp that coaches don't say, but when you look at how in my position, understanding how these types of things work,
sure.
If you are contending for a starting position, you don't primarily work for the twos. So I think watching NPF come back this week is, hey, if you really think you are that guy you can catch up, then we need to see you speed up your process of getting back on the field. I love the way he competed against Harold. I thought that was the most significant thing. Harold, the first couple of days, and we spoke about it, he was running a clinic on the right tackle.
Sure was.
He was. And you didn't necessarily see that this past weekend. If I'm not mistaken, Jabari Small's touchdown in the red zone. No, it was Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard, I was Saturday in their red zone period. Tony Pollard ran a touchdown on the first play of that segment with the ones, and it was on the right side of Dylan Radins and NPF. So, again, I didn't recognize the tight ends work on that, but you don't break a big run.
Sure.
In red zone for a touchdown unless there's good blocking. He has a big body. Again, if you look at just the makeup of John Ojukwu and NPF, the lowers is the separator. And that's what I saw from a guy like him. He's capable of playing. My thing is, and he said it, getting on and staying on the field.
Yeah. Question on YouTube asks, did he injure his knee after the shoulder, or am I mistaken? You are not mistaken. He had a knee scope, he said to the media on Saturday after he had already rehabbed his shoulder injury, and gave a lot of credit to the Titans training staff for getting him totally ready to practice within mandatory minicamp. And then right before media was going to be out there to watch them for the first time in those camps and OTAs, had a knee injury that he had to get cleaned out. So this is his return from that. Ramon, as of August 5th now, who is your leader in the clubhouse to start week 1 in Chicago at right tackle?
NPF. Just because seeing John Ojukwu and his deficiencies of how I would evaluate a starting tackle in this league, I continually say this, not yet. Not yet.
Higher floor still for an NPF despite the lack of football.
Yes, 100%. It'd be ideal for this team if it was NPF in this situation. Getting consistency out of Jalen Duncan is the one thing that I think you'll get out of NPF.
Sure.
That I've seen, even in the one practice that I was out there, is you see, well, I'll see this. We hadn't seen a lot of consistency from Jalen, but I think a guy like NPF would have it.
Who's got the highest ceiling?
The highest ceiling? It's probably Jalen Duncan.
Really?
Yes. You want to know how I know that? It's because important people have said his ceiling is that high.
There you go.
But the thing is, NPF is more ready than I think either one of those dudes would be at this point.
You got to raise Jalen Duncan's floor.
He got to raise his floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He needs to totally buy into what Bill Callahan's telling him.
Yeah. Yeah. And be an everyday guy. That's the one thing that we got led in this offseason about John Njoku.
Sure.
John Njoku was labeled as what? An everyday guy. You're going to get the same work out of him.
There. Yep.
And he's going to be there. He's going to be a pro. But his issues is, I keep saying to myself, not yet. And I did say that in the beginning. I said, I think you're going to have to pry it out of his hands. But I need to see him in pads. Seeing him in pads where it gets more real, I say not yet. And I think that's fair to him because he's still getting a fair shake.
615-737-1045. Some big news for the Tennessee Volunteers over the weekend as they get a commitment from five-star quarterback Faison Brandon. Faison's head coach joined us earlier this morning. We'll play you some audio of what he told us about Tennessee's future signal caller. And the big news of the morning we will continue to react to, Quandre Diggs will be a Tennessee Titan. We got that and more for you coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, letting you know summer is over and it's time to get ready for school to start. But here's the thing. Even though the kids are headed back to school, you can leave the homework to Hiller. Yes, homework. This month, enjoy back-to-school savings with offers like $99 drain cleaning, okay? You can get $500 off select high-efficiency HVAC systems and also $500 off new tankless water heater. If you haven't dabbled in the tankless water heater world, trust me, you want to get in there with this $500 off from Hiller or $1,000 off from whole home generators. Simply visit happyhiller.com today for more details.
What's going on? 9 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans make another add to the safety room with another former Seahawk, Quandre Diggs, signing a one-year deal worth up to $5 million. Diggs started every game over the last 4 years, pulling in 15 interceptions over that same time period. Injury update for the first running back drafted in the 2024 draft. Panthers' second-round rookie running back Jonathan Brooks will not play during the preseason and is unlikely to make his NFL debut until around week 3 or 4 of the regular season, per head coach Dave Canales. Brooks is recovering from an ACL tear suffered in college at Texas. And five-star quarterback Faison Brandon committed to Tennessee over the weekend. The 6'4", 202-pound quarterback from Greensboro, North Carolina, chose the Vols over Alabama, LSU, and NC State and is ranked as the number 1 quarterback in 2026. His head coach, Coach Daryl Brown, joined the show at 7 o'clock. You can look at that on YouTube or check it out wherever you get your podcast at for all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs. Visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 4 getting started on a Monday morning. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW, 6 to 10 every weekday. Kicking off your morning here on The Zone. Kayla Anderson back with us tomorrow. Ramon Foster, Will Bowling with Robert Walsh, hitting all the right buttons. We'll be joined in 20 minutes by TennesseeTitans.com's Jim Wyatt. The Titans have the day off today before they have another jog through practice tomorrow. We are back at training camp Wednesday and Thursday this week, watching camp practice with you and telling you everything that you need to know. 615-737-1045 is how you join us. The report yesterday, Ian Rappaport with the contract details. 1 year, $3 million for former Seahawks safety Quandre Diggs, the former Texas Longhorn who started his career as a Detroit Lion. Career high 95 tackles last season. He has played 1,000 snaps every year since 2019. Ramon Foster, what do you like the most about this move for the Tennessee Titans?
Helping ensure the back end of this defense, to where the worry of big plays always happening is somewhat, at least from a perception, right? Because that's where we're at right now until we see what this team is going to look like. We're perceiving that Quandre Diggs is that type of DB safety to where he can erase big plays over your head. He's done it in years past. I love that idea of it, Will. And it also somewhat back up what we've heard what Denard Wilson is going to do as a defensive coordinator. Rush 4, maybe 5, and have a very solid back end. And earlier I mentioned the price point too. Getting him for a base of $3 million with the ability to get his incentives, I think is super clutch for a franchise that's trying to restock the cupboard, as we've heard, be competitive, somewhat set a standard here, and you don't want your first-year head coach to be a failure. So getting these types of players that have made plays in other cities a part of your team, I think is crucial.
I think it is certainly a very valuable move. 24 career interceptions for Quandre Diggs, who has 18 picks in his last 5 seasons. Only had 1 last year, but this is a guy who can do a lot of different things for you. So now your safeties you feel decent about. With Amani Hooker, Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams, Elijah Molden, I would put Matthew Jackson as the next guy, considering he's got 3 interceptions so far during training camp. All of a sudden, Ramon, this is one of your deeper positions on the roster.
It is.
And a month ago, it was maybe your thinnest position on the roster.
It was, man. It was just where can we find help? Was the conversation, right? Or how fragile this offense is, this defense is going to be as it pertains to competing. And now, whether it be a guy like Jamal Adams, if he has to move back to the back end of the defense, he can now. Like, there are multiple roles that guys are playing now with this team defensively that we didn't have going into training camp. With the Jamal Adams signing, with the Quandre Diggs signing, we just recently had to. So I'm excited for how we're going to see Denard Wilson set a game plan for these dudes. Honestly, the rocking and rolling of the safeties now. And as I said before, I don't know what Jamal Adams' role is going to be moving forward. And that's where watching and hearing the conversation around what you're going to ask him to do, playing within the first 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, may be something that helps change his career path moving forward to where this is going to be your role. One guy I played with that I know ran and his staff had a familiarity with it is Mark Barron, the former Alabama safety. Mm-hmm. At some point, he transitioned from a safety to a linebacker role, so much so that we signed him in Pittsburgh for that. I think we were not long after Ryan Shazier's injury, right? And he was in a spot to where we had to figure out how we were going to supplement reinforcing the run game and also having somebody could cover. And that's where a guy like Mark Barron played a role in it. I think right now Jamal Adams is having that same role being bestowed upon him now with the Tennessee Titans.
Could that also make things easier on Kenneth Murray? Having Jamal Adams now be pigeonholed into more of a tight end eraser in coverage / blitzer. Does that make the other linebackers on the team's job easier?
It should.
I mean, Kenneth Murray won't have to cover as many guys now. Right. Is that a fair assumption to make?
Yeah, I would say so. But again, that's what they've been saying is going to be the case when it comes down to signing a guy like that. We've honestly got to believe, I guess, what Denard Wilson is telling us. He's telling us exactly what his defensive guys are going to do in the roles of those dudes too. And he said, okay, you guys been talking about green dot, green dot, green dot. No, I'm just trying to green light a guy like Kenneth Murray. And I think that's unique in the way this defense is going to be set up and built moving forward.
And I think, too, even if you get to the point where you have a rookie linebacker who's calling the plays, you now have someone who, according to the Athletics' Randy Mueller, who's been on the show quite a bit, someone who is an expert communicator. And I think that's significant because the guy with the green dot who knows the play is not the only one communicating with the rest of the defense. You've got to have someone who's sort of the captain of the secondary. We'll see how quickly Quandre Diggs can get up to speed and learning this defense to be able to do that. But you're getting a two-time captain from Seattle who was a captain in 2022 and 2023 who was pretty solid in coverage last season for Seattle. Just wasn't as good tackling. That's why he was not rated very highly by Pro Football Focus in that regard.
And a recent Pro Bowler, too. Like, I know we're going to mention his age a lot this season. And honestly, with him, Jamal is not that old, but Cheeto is in that conversation, right? Calvin really is in that conversation.
L'Jarius Sneed's in that conversation.
L'Jarius Sneed, like, we're looking at all of these things, and you're hoping this for the most part. One, the balance of practice and what guys are doing as far as the GPS that they have on guys throughout the course of practice. We've heard them say how they're going to tweak how they give guys days off, how they try to manage reps moving forward so that you can have the longevity of the season. That's one unique thing about all of these bodies that they've signed this year too. That 17th game, seeing how it can wear guys down, I think is going to be a study that I think a lot of teams are going to try to have moving forward to where you may see, honestly, more 30-year-olds on teams than we ever have before because it's about the quality of play over 18 weeks, including the bye week.
Two-time captain at 22 and 23, made 3 straight Pro Bowls between 2020 and 2022. Elsewhere this morning, Daryl Brown, head coach of the Grimsley Whirlies, is the head coach for 5-star Tennessee football commitment Faison Brandon. Faison commits to Tennessee over Alabama, LSU, and NC State over the weekend. The number 1 overall player in America, according to 247 Sports, for the class of 2026. He is also the number 1 quarterback in the country on both 247 and on 3. Daryl Brown joined us earlier this morning and gave a comparison that I think Vols fans will like quite a bit.
No, they've done a great job. I mean, they've been here quite a bit whenever they are allowed to be here and around. And Faison's been up to UT several times, been to games, and has really just become comfortable with their staff and Coach Heupel and all those guys. And says he loves it there. Says it feels like home every time he's up there. He's just become more comfortable the more he's around. And then also he has a pretty good relationship with Hendon Hooker, who is a Greensboro guy as well. And Hendon's dad and Faison have trained and done some things through the years. So that's also a good connection for him. And obviously doesn't hurt as far as the recruiting process when you got a guy like Hendon Hooker talking to you about UT as well.
I like it. I like it a lot.
It's also the conversation that we've had too, the separators in NIL, right? The separator and like bags that guys can pick up. Like, yeah, you can pay for a team. I think it was Baylor this weekend. It was a great advertisement if you guys missed it. But their coaches were on the practice field, if I'm not mistaken, that had on shirts that said, "We pay players." It's only so far that's going to get you. I love it and it's cute, but here's the thing that we're learning now. Everybody's paying players. So hearing Faison Brandon been in a position to where he's connected with Hendon Hooker. The coaches are always available for her. Even their head coach at the Whirlies, right?
Daryl Brown.
Daryl Brown has said Coach Heupel is accessible. That also may lead to an open door for other recruits that come through. Usually when you have guys that are highly rated, I know some schools, hey, it's a flash in the pan. It's one dude and then they're done recruiting in that area. But at least it raises the profile of his high school moving forward. The fact that he has those coaches' numbers. Mm-hmm. And now you get on a guy like David Sanders Jr. and Faison Brandon in their 8th grade year. This is what that is allowing those relationships to be built just simply because I can give you all the money in the world.
Yeah.
But we saw how that worked out with A&M. We saw Florida attempt that with a quarterback.
Colorado.
You know, it does matter culture in a world that is dominated right now by dollars and cents.
And Miami would be the other one in that conversation as well. Reporters have said through this process that Tennessee has made no promises to Faison Brandon either. They have got a legitimately loaded quarterback room that is on the way in Knoxville between 4-star Nashville native George McIntyre, 5-star Faison Brandon, and of course the number 1 player in the country according to On3 2 years ago, Nico Yamaliava, set to take over this year. I think at this point, you cannot tell me there is a better quarterback recruiter in college football than Josh Heupel. No one's better.
What's crazy, he's allowing his quarterbacks to get commit to do the exact same thing too.
And the thing is, you can say that people are recruiting on the same level as Josh Heupel. That's fine with me. There is nobody right now that is doing a better job of recruiting quarterbacks than Josh Heupel. No question.
No question.
At this point, if Faison Brandon, if and when he gets to campus and this ranking remains the same, Josh Heupel will have gotten commitments from 2 of the top 4 number 1 players in the country over the last 4 years. He will have received the number 1 quarterback in America 2 of the last 4 years. There's nobody else doing that.
You know what's super dope about that too? I'm a guy, I'm always say start in the trenches. But resetting classes and really getting eyes on you, I think starts with the quarterback more in college.
100%. 100%. Especially considering the fact that when you start your class with a quarterback, you're more likely to fill in other 5 stars with him.
Yeah.
No doubt.
No doubt.
615-737-1045. Jim Wyatt at TennesseeTitans.com joins us. We'll talk some Titans with him next. Monday morning, kicking off a brand new week. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW with Ramon Foster. I'm Will Bowling. Kayla Anderson has the morning off. And we are joined by the one, the only, Jim Wyatt, TennesseeTitans.com, taking some time here with us on the show. Jim, what's up? How are you?
Not much, Will. Ramon, hope you guys are doing well today.
Oh, well.
Yes,
Jimmy.
sir. We are great. At this point of the process, Jim, I know Brian Callahan, Bill Callahan, all the Callahans have talked about practicing maybe evening out a little bit between the offense and the defense. Over the weekend, do you feel like the offense took a little bit of a step forward at training camp practices?
I think so. I mean, the defense has been turning up the heat on the offense, certainly since the start of camp. And Will Levis and Mason Rudolph and Malik Willis, all those guys, for that matter, are facing some intense pressure when they drop back to throw. There have been as a result, there have been some herky-jerky times probably for the offense. But I do agree that it seems like they've settled down. A lot of new pieces on that side of the football. From the offensive line being a work in progress to the receivers still kind of getting on the same page with the quarterbacks to really just everything being different with what they're trying to implement. So I think you'll see that side of football make strides as we go on. And I mean, it's early. We're only 7 practices into camp, and I feel like I'm seeing a little bit more consistency here over the last couple of days.
Well, Jim, this defense will get a boost as yesterday Quandre Diggs tweets himself that he is headed to the Titans on a 1-year deal. How much could he help this defense, and where do you see him really helping this team the most?
Well, he's certainly proven to be a very dependable guy who plays, doesn't miss many games. Just look at his recent track record and has made a lot of plays in this league. So he joins a group of players that are all versatile, but let's face it, they've all had, their share of injury history themselves, whether that's, Jamal Adams or whether that's Elijah Molden or even Amani Hooker. So I think what they've done is tried to bring in as many good players as they can at every position, and now that's at the safety position. And how he ends up fitting, what he ends up doing, I think he's obviously going to be on the field a lot, probably opposite of Amani Hooker. I think Jamal Adams is going to be more of a piece they use in certain packages, but they've got some versatility, and you can be sure that Denard Wilson will find ways to get all those guys involved. I think Elijah Molden's had a good camp. I just think you've got to protect yourself and as good as you can get. And if there's a player sitting out there that you like, and this is a guy that they have been in on for the last couple of weeks, then you make the move instead of letting somebody else do it. And that's what they did with Diggs. And no question the team is better because of it. Once that becomes official, it'll be announced, I'm sure, the next day or so when he comes in here and passes a physical. But he's excited about it, as you mentioned. He's tweeted out himself.
Jimmy Wyatt with us this morning discussing the Tennessee Titans training camp so far. Jimmy, to stay on the defensive side of things, man, sometimes it could look like you're selling wolf tickets. We are, in a sense, the way we talk about this one particular guy, man. But T'Vondre Sweat and his progress he's made in training camp, Jimmy, how real is it from what you've seen and evaluated what he's capable of being?
Well, it's fun to watch. I mean, and I like his attitude. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, he arrived here with a lot of questions. There's no doubt about it. And then when he has an off season where he's not able to be on the field a lot and had questions about his weight and what kind of shape he's in, he's has something to prove when camp starts. And he's shown up and busted his butt. It seems like he's getting better each day. Wants to be good, and guys around him like Jeffrey Simmons are pushing him every day. He has looked very good to me. I mean, I know he's still not there yet. Like, he's still very raw, and he still needs to lose some weight, and he still needs to get into better condition. But I was watching him on the one-on-one drills against the offensive linemen on Saturday, and he was giving them hell. I mean, he was moving those guys back. He's been doing it and right after that, those reps in the one-on-ones, one of the first plays in the team drills, he busts right up the middle, is in Will Levis's face on a pass rush, and he has to throw the ball away. So, I mean, you notice him about every day, and he's just going to keep getting better. And they're not, it's not one of these deals where they're, okay, you're going to work with the third team, and you're going to work your way up to the second team, and if you do everything we want you to do, maybe you can be a starter. And they're putting them right out there at the beginning, saying, we're expecting you to line up and be a big time player for us as a rookie. So go out and do your job, and that's what he's been doing to the best of his ability so far.
Jim, you mentioned that this past Saturday's practice, where he was. I was sitting there talking to Chris Spencer, and I said this earlier. It's almost looking at Tavondre the way he go about 101s. It's unfair because all you think is, oh, here come this big body guy that's about to run through my face, and the next thing you know, he's hitting you with a swim move, or he's hitting a spin move or something. Like, it's not just a bear on two legs moving upfield. You're getting an athlete out of this guy, and as you said, he's got to get the weight and conditioning and be a pro down. But Jim, is somewhat unfair.
Yeah, I mean, because you're right. I mean, it's just not just a big guy who's just a guy who takes up space and requires a couple of guys to kind of keep him in check. Yeah, he does all of that, but he also does some pretty unique things out there for a guy his size that's going to give offenses a real headache on Sunday. So, and just think of how much better he can get when he does get himself in good shape and learns his technique and understands what they're trying him to do. And this is a guy who is very motivated. I talked to him a couple of days ago when he was in the process of surprising his mom with by buying her a house. And then in that conversation, he's talking about taking care of her, and then he's talking about when he gets the second contract, he's going to be able to do this and that. And like he plans to be in this league for a long time. He plans to be really good. He plans to make a lot of money, and he's not just happy to be here. He wants to prove it. And let's face it, I mean, he's picked 38th overall. A lot of people question about why he went that high. People had him on draft boards that were much higher because they had questions about him. And so he's got a lot to prove. He's very well aware of that and very thankful that the Titans gave him a chance, and now he wants to prove them right.
No doubt, man. And not just this, though, but you mentioned the motivation. There's nobody more motivated. I'm going to push back just a little bit, Jimmy, because Jarvis Brownlee and James Williams both were guys that I thought that stuck out over this weekend. Safety linebacker James Williams, and I guess he's playing nickel, Jarvis Brownlee. What have you seen from those two rookies, man, so far in their progress?
I like them both. I mean, I think Williams has kind of, has gotten my attention all the way through the offseason, and he it's not like he had an easy job himself coming in here as a 7th-round pick that was a safety in college trying to learn a whole new position. And we all know he was very highly touted recruit coming out of high school, is big, physical. I noticed him, with I think it may have been Saturday, Ramon, if you're out here Saturday, I think he made a big hit in the middle of the field on one play. And then Brownlee, I love his feistiness. He reminds me of a young Pac-Man Jones, to be honest with you, just how scrappy and how feisty he is. Pac-Man obviously didn't really surge here because of a lot of other things, but from an athletic ability standpoint, from just a guy who's willing to fight and is very talented, I think Brownlee is that guy. And he comes from one of his former coaches, Steve Ellis, checks in with me from time to time just on how he's doing because he is so invested in him. And then Jarvis talks about him and just how much he pushes him. So he got so many people in his corner that have helped him get here, and you're kind of already seeing that because he's very skilled to be a rookie, and he's in a very deep position.
Jim Wyatt is our guest, TennesseeTitans.com, joining us on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Jim, the three-way battle at right tackle, maybe at least three-way battle, continues, and Nicholas Petit-Frere is added into that competition on the field over the weekend. What did you see from him, and who are you giving an edge to if you had to pick on who's got the inside track as to maybe being that guy week one in Chicago?
Well, I've always thought it's Petit-Frere. I mean, that's when camp started and I did my position previews. That's kind of that's what I said. I mean, I expect him to be the starter at right tackle. I expect Sadiq Charles to be the starter at right guard. Those guys have got to go out and win those jobs. But, the problem for, Petit-Frere last year, obviously, he has the suspension that kind of lost any momentum he had going into the season. Had to play catch up from there. Then he got hurt, and it's kind of a lost year. But I thought as a rookie, he showed some promise. I expected him to really have a good second season last year, and it was again just a forgotten year. So now he's back. He's motivated. I thought early on, as expected, looked a little rusty, and then I thought as the weekend went on, he looked more comfortable. John Njoku is not going to make it easier for him. There's some other guys in that competition, Jalen Duncan, even Leroy Watson. I mean, they've got a lot of guys competing, but I think Nicholas Petit-Frere makes the most sense, and he's the favorite, and it's his job to lose, if you ask me.
Jim, I know you wrote on TennesseeTitans.com over the weekend about Kyle Phillips. Brian Callahan mentioned him as someone who he thinks has had a really good camp. What does Kyle Phillips need to do in order to make this roster along with Jaquan Jackson? Because obviously with Tyler Boyd in there, there are a lot of options this team already has a slot receiver.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of option receiver. I look at the depth chart, and it's just hard to find numbers. I mean, you've got Ridley, and you've got Nick Westbrook-Keenan, who's having a really good camp. You've got Tyler Boyd. You've got DeAndre Hopkins. You've got Traylon Burks. And then you mentioned Jaquan Jackson. I mean, that's six there. Mason Kinsey's had a really good camp. So where does Phillips fit? I mean, he's just got to keep making plays. I mean, we all remember how much buzz he created for himself as a rookie. He was really good in training camp, really good in those joint practices, and then he got hurt. And I had another one of those years like I was talking about with Nicholas Petit-Frere last year. I mean, he lost momentum with the early injury. Never really could get right. Had another year last year, and now really nobody has been talking about him of late. But I keep a track. I'm looking at it right now in my office of all the catches through the first 7 practices of camp, and I look at Kyle Phillips on my board, and he's got 14 and through 7 practices, and only 2 guys on this list have more than him. So he had a good day yesterday, 4 catches, a couple of touchdowns. He's got to keep doing what he's been doing, and he's got to stay healthy. That's been the biggest thing for him, and he's going to make it a tough decision for them when it comes down to start trimming this roster.
Jim Wyatt with us this morning. Jim, when it comes down to one position in particular, it is the running back position. And you look at your write-ups, your observations. If you go to practice, one thing is constant. They've had running backs have explosive plays. One of those guys been newly signed free agent, Tony Pollard. He continues to show up. But I got one more guy I want you to talk about too if you have the time, and that's Hassan Haskins. He continues to show up also. This Tony Pollard, Hassan Haskins, and Tajay Boyd situation, Tajay Spears situation, it could be one of the best backfields in the NFL if they all stay healthy and get this production.
Well, I think Haskins is on this team, and he's the third guy behind Pollard and Spears, and he's a physical, strong runner. But I think where he's going to really make a name for himself this year is going to be on special teams. I think he's had a good camp. I thought he had a good day yesterday too. I am curious to see how what this is going to look like. I mean, ever since I've been here, this team's always had one workhorse back, whether it's Eddie George, whether it's Chris Johnson. Obviously, Chris Johnson and Lindell White were a pretty good tandem, but then you go to Derrick Henry, and we know what it's been like here over the last 6-7 years. It's been all the Derrick Henry show. And now you're going to have rotation of backs who I think will be used, depending on matchups, depending on how things are going in games. I'm not sure what it's going to look like as far as how the rotation goes. It could be a situation where they're just riding the hot hand, but I do think they've got some quality backs that are capable of stepping in and not only run the football but catching the ball in the backfield, and they're now on a team that has better skilled players around them, so that should make them better. So I am curious to see what it looks like, and I think especially Pollard and Spears are going to be a big part of it, but Haskins has gotten a lot better and is a good guy to have on this roster as well.
Jim Wyatt joining us here this morning, talking Titans on Ramon, Kayla, and Will at J Wyatt Sports, where you follow him on Twitter. Excellent as always, Jim. Thank you, sir.
Okay, y'all have a good week. Thank you.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
Jimmy.
Jim Wyatt bringing us the goods from Titans camp over the weekend. I do think that is interesting on Haskins. Doesn't it feel like he's really stepped ahead of Julius Chestnut for that third spot?
Yeah, man. Again, and it's the small things that make you lose a job when you're a French guy anyway. Him putting the ball on the ground, I know it's one time, but still. Hassan has been consistently breaking runs. He's been consistently at practice and been the bruiser type that you need. And Jimmy brought up the idea that that using him on special teams.
Sure.
We know he has the speed for it. But so that's one thing that I'm looking forward to seeing. By the way, that hit that Jimmy was talking about with the linebacker James Williams, the rookie, he doesn't look like a former safety. This still look like a beast of an athlete specimen.
He is huge.
But I saw him come downhill. You hear me? On Daniel Brunskill. And Brunskill had to come off the field, and he took his helmet off, and I can read everything coming out of his mouth. He was not pleased with the rookie, okay? He shook his head after. It's just like, that young man is a thumper, which is, something that we thought he had to learn anyhow, going from a college safety to being an NFL linebacker.
We got a couple of questions at the same time, one on Facebook Live, one on YouTube, asking what the chances are Jabari Small, the former Tennessee Volunteer, makes the roster. I will be totally honest with you, very small.
Yeah.
This team, if they're going to keep 4 running backs, I would bargain with you that Julius Chestnut would be the 4th one, even beyond Jabari Small, and I don't think they need to keep 4 running backs.
Right, and he's a practice squad at this point.
Yeah, Jabari Small is a practice squad guy.
If you're asking me, he going to have a job.
Yeah,
right?
he will stick somewhere. But
your number 3 is probably Hassan Haskins.
Yeah, right. That is a position, again, where you have injuries throughout the season, and Jabari Small may get a chance to make a roster somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I would be surprised. I would love to be wrong. I'd love for a Vol to make the team, but
no doubt.
I'd be very surprised at this point if he made the 53 out of camp.
But you got to be unique playing running back in NFL.
Exactly.
You do.
You got to do something different, or you got to be a special teams guy. Yeah. And they've got 2 guys that do what he does. In Pollard and Spears, and Haskins is a better special team guy. So is Chestnut.
Yeah.
615-737-1045. More headlines on the way out. We'll give you buzz around the league on some young quarterbacks, how they're faring around NFL training camps from Albert Breer's Monday Morning SI.com column. We got that for you coming up.
It's Ramon Foster here for Wesley Mortgage. Here, listen up real quick. The website is whywesley.com. WHYWESLEY.com, man. I'm here to tell you this. All things start with the owner. That's Chuck McDowell, who's a local Nashville native. One, he cares about this community and is proud to serve it. Chuck, he reinvests in the people and the place that make Nashville such a wonderful place. While other mortgage companies are downsizing, Chuck McDowell and the Wesley Mortgage team are rapidly expanding in Nashville, keeping people working in the career that they love, and they will love to have you join their team. Chuck and the leadership team at Wesley Mortgage have a support system in place to help you succeed in the mortgage business, ensuring your loans close on time, making sure you get paid, and giving you back the time to build your business and bring back the fun to the mortgage profession. They have unique networking opportunities with the Tennessee Titans and the Music City Grand Prix, so they make closing deals and building relationships fun again. So if you're in the mortgage industry and you're tired of the grind, tired of the pressure, just tired of micromanaging everything to make sure your clients get handled correctly, then you owe it to yourself to go to whywesley.com.
into the show already. That flew by. Monday mornings, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW, Ramon Foster, Will Bowling. Kayla's back tomorrow. We will have Austin Price. We will have Ron Slay.
Yeah, we will.
We'll have a fun time.
Who made a visit to Knoxville this weekend, by the way, also. Said he had to go check in on Chaz, man. Lanier.
I like it.
I think he had a basketball camp, which
Nice.
is crazy. They can get paid to throw basketball camps.
Isn't
now.
that awesome?
That is so awesome, man.
That's a win-win for the community and a win for the guy throwing the camp.
It was, man. We used to get in trouble for that. Like, if you even went back home to do a camp, like, you had to fill out paperwork for compliance, and I think it was on like 2 players per team could only do a camp or something.
Did you ever go to a cool one when you were a kid?
Never. At that point, like, guys weren't doing that when I was coming up in the early 2000s.
I was
or
at
90s.
the Belmont basketball camp most summers growing up.
Were you?
So much fun. I almost went to the Oregon cross-country camp in high school, which was like a big deal.
In Eugene?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a big deal because they host like a huge cross-country camp or track camp where you get to run in Hayward and like train with all their current athletes, and they were the best team in the country with Edward Cheserek and Eric Jenkins at that point.
Okay.
But two of my buddies went, 2 of my best friends, but I thought I made the criteria, but I wasn't picked. No, I'm just kidding. To quote the great Isaiah Thomas.
Nah, coming up in my era, we didn't I said it sounded so southern, right? Coming up in my era, we didn't really have these types of camps. The only camps that we did, it was if you were a part of a team, and we'd always go to like University of Memphis or Dyersburg State or, Union University if they had camps, but nobody was throwing like Lambeth and Bethel too. Nobody was actually throwing like kid-approved like camps unless you were on a team.
I went to a Kenny Smith basketball camp when I was a kid.
Get out.
Yeah, no, that's what they told me after they saw me shoot. They're like, we cannot help you, sir.
So get out. It's like that, man. But those are cool things. Now they get to be ran by college athletes themselves, man. So NIL, shout out to y'all.
Absolutely. Which rookie quarterback do you want an update on? Albert Breer in his SI.com Monday morning column has notes on all of the first-round pick rookie QBs. Dealer's choice.
Give me Caleb first.
Caleb Williams, quote, has had the standard rookie ups and downs, but is pretty far ahead at this point, in large part because of the plan the Bears laid out for him. They put in formations, cadence, and terminology with him before the draft. In their 3 allotted 1-hour Zoom sessions, Caleb Williams used the 40 days between OTAs and camp effectively. He is the starter, and Albert Breer says, I'd bet he'll play well as a rookie. The Bears also have the advantage of, since they were in the Hall of Fame game, they could open camp a week before everyone else. So Caleb Williams will have an extra week within this offense learning it than every other rookie quarterback and every other quarterback, other than C.J. Stroud, considering the Texans were in the same boat.
Yeah. I will also go out and say, too, I'm not sure if we made him, you're not that guy, somebody did, but I saw him getting a lot of pushback on social media about the pick up after yourselves comment that he had.
Oh, what was that? I didn't hear that.
Recently, he's gotten on, or he's publicly spoken about his teammates leaving wet towels and cans and jock straps everywhere and leaving it to their custodial crew to pick it up. And that's something to where I've always been told, if you're talking about non-football things and you're not a good human to the people that work for you inside the building, then you're probably going to have a losing culture. I honestly don't have any pushback on him saying, hey, you grown dudes, pick up your dirty jock straps and towels out of the shower after you use them. But it's a culture setting thing is what I'd say that was for him, man. And he's just a rookie saying this type of stuff, and I ain't got no problem with it.
You know who told the media that Caleb Williams was telling people to pick their stuff up?
Who's that?
Kevin Byard.
Was it Byard?
Kevin Byard was
in
doing
a good way?
Yes, in a good way. And here I was led to believe that Caleb Williams was a terrible leader, and his teammates did not like him.
But Byard backed him up on that one, so I did see his comments.
I just think that's cool. Like someone who is that big of a leader, who was brought into Chicago to be a leader, is like, yeah, this young kid who's been here for 3 months, is also being a very large leader.
I think that if you don't like Caleb Williams and his personality, you're just not going to like everything he does. Because if a quarterback, like let's say Joe Burrow, did something like that, he's an alpha.
Oh my God.
in that locker room. And obviously Joe Burrow has earned a lot more standing, clearly, than Caleb Williams has, considering he's not played a game yet. So it's apples and oranges. But again, like, we move the goalposts and stuff like this all the time. Because if we like someone, it's leadership. If we don't like them, then they're a diva. And they're saying probably the exact same things.
And you can't tell these veterans what to do. You're just a lowly rookie. Like, no.
Or it's like, oh, I just love that he's stepping in this room and showcasing leadership right away. Like, if you don't like Caleb Williams doing anything, you just admit you don't like the painted nails. You don't like the flamboyant personality.
Right.
And that's your right not to like it. Nobody forces you who to like or dislike in football. Just own it.
Just own that one. But this was a good thing. This is culture setting things that we're speaking about. That he's at least attempting to do it with a franchise that's been below the line more than not lately.
You want to hear about one other rookie quarterback? You take your pick?
Drake May.
Don't take him, man. That's your boy. He's up there with your boy.
Yeah, you can just text Gerard. How's Drake doing?
I will. I'll hit him up after the show.
How about this about Michael Penix Jr.? Has been impressive at Atlanta while he's run the second-team offense against the first-team defense. He's come along fast with the operational elements he had to learn, getting guys in and out of the huddle, Albert Breer writes, and he's getting a better feel for progressing to the backside of some of the Falcons' new passing concept. That sounds exactly like what Will Levis said last week. What Atlanta can already see is his ability to push the ball down the field. Albert Breer writes, those in Atlanta say he is giving the team a handful of wow throws every week. I imagine those in Atlanta are not in Kirk Cousins' representation.
He's in a Kohl's dressing room right now, punching clothes, man.
Kirk Cousins getting some Kohl's cash, just punching the air, reading this update. He's in the fitting room trying on a new pair of slacks from Gap.
I hate it.
Dang it.
It's got to be him.
He just found out you could get 2 pairs of jeans for the Banana Republic for $40 each.
Yes, dang it. On his day off. Well,
he was just getting an Auntie Anne pretzels. Auntie Anne pretzel nuggets. Dang it. Come on, Michael.
He's that good. Well, this is why it sucks to have a franchise quarterback and have a strong personality.
New loafers from Payless. No longer an exciting Monday.
This is why you can't have a strong backup. This is why right here.
Back at it tomorrow. Full crew will be in studio. Austin Price, Ron Slay, much more to come to start your Tuesday morning here on RKW. Ramon Foster sent us home.
Hey, at all times, good people, your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.